Well, thank you for coming out today.
Absolutely.
Both of you guys.
Yeah, excited to be here.
If you want to, you can start introducing yourself. You go first. Go ahead.
All right, I'm Christine Sowell with Keller Williams. I am owner of the Sowell Group.
You're,
3 realtors in the state of Ohio.
last year in
for
2023, I was
We'll get
ranked
into more of that.
number 3 individual agent
That's
in
awesome.
the state of Ohio.
That's huge.
Before I started the Sowell Group.
Yeah, that's huge. That's awesome. You? Go ahead.
I'm Rachel Clausen. I'm a residential and commercial lender with American Pacific Mortgage. And I've been here for about, what is it, like a month now?
Hey.
But I've been doing mortgages for about 10 years.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So how did you get into real estate? That's the first question I got to ask you. How did you get
Okay.
in?
So this is a long one.
Yeah.
So I got into real estate. I used to be a director at a very large nonprofit, and I loved the job, but it was thankless. And I was getting married, and I had quit my job in like April, and we were planning the wedding, and it was like right before the wedding in October. It was September, and we were doing the seating chart. And my parents have been in real estate for over 40 years each.
Yeah, I was going to say, your parents have been in it for a while. huh?
Forever.
Yeah.
And my mom walked past me while we were doing the seating chart. She goes, "Christine, are you working?" And they had never asked me this, and I hadn't been working for months. And I was like, "Nope." And they're like, "Oh my gosh, like, what are you gonna do?" And I had like nothing. I had just turned down a job at a builder, and I was like, "I'm going into real estate." Like, I had nothing. Like, what do you even say? So
Yeah.
I was like, and then they start crying because they're so excited. So I was forced to take the test.
Oh, yeah.
And then I really only kept going with it because I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
So I never anticipated for everything
Blow
that's
up.
happened to happen.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And the rest is history.
That's
so
awesome.
it was just to get myself out of trouble.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What about you? How'd you get into mortgages?
So I was a branch manager at a bank, and I was 25, 26.
Yeah.
And just it wasn't for me. I liked being on my own, not responsible for other people, and decided I went on maternity leave, and I was like, I think I'm gonna do mortgages. And
It's crazy industry just to jump into.
I know,
I
right?
know.
And
Both for
What
both
year
of you
was
guys.
this?
2015,
Okay.
and so I started day 1 of TRID.
Yeah.
October
you
1st,
did.
2015
Yeah, you
is
did.
day 1
man.
of TRID. So all these
Didn't know any better.
I know all these loan officers are freaking out. And I was like, this is easy. What are you talking about, guys? And but I went into mortgage. I had a friend who worked with me at the bank a long time ago, and she had worked at Quicken, and then she was at U.S. Bank at the time. And, so she kind of just took me under her wing, was a mentor, and I've been doing it ever since.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How'd you get into
Oh,
it? I
God,
mean,
I can't even talk about the way I got into mortgages.
What do you mean?
My way is crazy. So
I'm
I'll
like,
tell you.
you're
I'll
like
tell
the
you.
godfather
I'll
of
tell you
mortgages.
Yeah.
G-rated version or whatever. But I used to hang out with this kid downtown, a real popular kid downtown. He used to live downtown, like right above where XO is
okay.
or was.
Oh, I know somebody that I don't know if
Yeah.
it's probably the same person or
Yeah,
not.
no. So anyway, he used to live downtown, and he knew some kid who was like, he was part of a mortgage company. Now, all my buddies are in mortgages at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So like Ronnie from Cross Country, Hesh, and those guys, they were all in mortgages. So they were all doing it while we were bouncing.
Yeah.
And they're starting to make okay money, pretty good money.
Okay.
And that's why they were still bouncing still, you know what I mean? Because it wasn't big money yet. And I met some kid, and well, I knew this kid, but he was friends with some kid, so I met him through him. And he's like, well, this dude just pays for everything. You want to go out tonight? I'm like, oh, God, I don't want to go out tonight. He's
Sign
like,
me up.
this dude's got a bunch of loot. I was like, why? And he's like, well, he just pays for everything. You want to just come? So I went. And then we went and partied with, all night, went to the bars, and then we went and met these kids at the bars, and they were like kids. And I was like 25.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
These guys were like 20, and they were like buying like not only just bottles of Moët, like the Magnum ones that are like,
Oh, like
4 feet
hardcore
tall?
bottle
Yeah.
service back in the
I'm
day.
like, what do these
Yeah.
kids do? What does these guys do? And he picked us up in like his Escalade and just was paying for everything all night. And he's like, oh, they're in mortgages. And then I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I was doing my internship at Metro Hospital at the time. And so
What were you
I
going
ended-
to?
Oh, wait, what were you doing an
What were you
internship?
I was
interning
doing
for?
cardiac rehab at the time. I didn't know what I was going to do.
Really?
Yeah, so I went around and questioned everybody at the hospital, like, what do you make? What do you make? What do you make? And then I was like, well, these kids are making crazy money. My buddies
Yeah.
are starting to make crazy money. So then long story short, through that friend of mine, I got in that company, which is where Todd was at. Todd was the, I want to say at the time he was a manager, but then became the vice president of that place.
Okay.
And I started at that place with those guys. It was like a big, huge call center. It was wild. But
And you stuck
there's
it
a
out
lot of
time.
like bad stuff that's part of that, how I got the job, but we'll just keep that out of this. But
Yeah.
there was like,
There always is.
But we're gonna find out later.
Yeah.
but that's how I got into mortgages through that
That's
path.
crazy.
Yeah. And that's 4 years ago now.
Okay.
You were 10 years this year, right?
I was 10 years this year. And before that, I was at Ryan Homes for
Okay.
like 4.5 years ish.
So you've been 15 years almost? Oof.
I mean, when I was at Ryan Homes, it was in 2005
Okay.
through 2009. So
Wow.
I
You've been there
remember
forever,
in
too.
like 2007, 2008,
Yeah.
we were like increasing the base prices of the home, and it was like a celebration. Like people would come in your model and we'd be like, your equity just increased, like blah blah blah. And then I remember when like everything hit the fan.
Oh, yeah.
And I had these people like lined up at my model, and I didn't pay attention to what the front sign at the front of the development said. I kind of just pulled them to work and went in the model, and my clients were there, and they were like pissed. And I'm like, oh my, like what's going on, guys? And they're like, we've lost all of our equity.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, what are you talking about? And my sales manager was like pulling up, and they reduced the price of the development by like $40,000. And it wasn't the company, it was the market. Like
yeah.
we were just responding to the market.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting
That had to be terrible.
time.
Yeah, it was a tough time.
Yeah.
That whole time was tough.
It was
Just
crazy.
It was crazy. Like I always tell people, we had like, so this time we were our own mortgage company, and there was like how many people? Like 250 people that work for this thing.
Yeah.
And when that
That's
collapse
crazy.
happened, like I drew the short straw, and I had to fire all of them.
That's
You
when
did
that
tell me that,
happened.
yeah.
Oh,
Todd
talk
sent
about
me
a
off.
bad day.
Todd sent me off to fire 200 and some people. It was wild. It was wild. So and then
That's
we were
hard.
but we were trying to keep it open. Payroll was like $250,000 every 2 weeks, and then so we were like closing these loans, and then they just called and we're not funding them. We're just not funding your loans.
Yeah.
We're like, but they're closed. They're like, we're not funding them.
How can they do that? Because
They're legally allowed to. You don't have to fund. You could self foreclose. Like the lender can foreclose, or not foreclose. Sorry, rescind. I don't know why I said foreclose, but you can self rescind. So the lender can rescind the loan that they've closed and refuse to
So
fund.
these people think that they've got all these loans, or they've got this house, and then the lender is just like, psh,
Yeah, you're like most of the loans we were doing refis at the time,
well, yeah, that's true.
but
there
It was
was like
wild.
I'll never forget this one family at that point in time. I always worked in the estate homes for the builder,
yeah,
and there was this family. They had 7 kids, and they were purchasing this like new bigger house. But at the same time, they were foreclosing on the house that they were in. So the entire time, it was like a balancing act that, like, as the sales reps for the builder, we were all involved for the like mortgage company. And it was like this balancing act of like just getting them into the house.
yep.
And I remember they sold, and like I didn't know. I mean, I was like young, like
Yeah, you
going
don't
out
know.
downtown
Me
at
too.
the time. Like
Me too.
I didn't know like they sold a Dungeons and Dragons game on eBay to make their down payment to the house.
Unreal.
And then they went to a balloon mortgage. And what's crazy
Ugh.
is I still market to this family to this day, and somehow they're still in that house.
That's crazy. They
I mean,
made
at
it,
least
though.
they're still there.
Yeah. I mean,
But-
yeah, they survived.
So we've
They
got a lot
probably
of
paid for it,
similar
like-
friends from downtown at the time.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
That
So
was
we
like-
do. We have a ton of similar friends, me and her.
Yeah.
So like my one friend, his sister and her are friends, and they used to have downtown. They used to all live. A couple of them lived downtown, and
We had
they
the
used to
little
have
black
they had
dress
little black
party.
dress parties.
Aw,
They were
cute.
super cool parties
my
downtown.
Yeah.
But yeah. So there was a lot of people that we both know. It's pretty funny. It's pretty
And we've
crazy.
totally partied together, but
yeah, we
like
definitely hung out before.
didn't put
didn't
it
realize
Oh,
together.
yeah,
yeah.
you guys told me about that.
Because
Yeah.
I've been to the black dress parties, so if you
Yeah.
were there, like she's been to all of them, and I've been to a couple of them, and me and Carmen, the one friend of ours that we have in common, he used to live behind us, and so we used to hang out all the time back then.
Yeah.
fun.
And I
So,
remember
yeah.
like Carmen would come into town and like
Oh, yeah.
we were like so excited because that
Carmen was
that was
awesome.
bottle service at
Yeah.
Liquid and
Oh,
it was so much
nice.
fun. Like we always had a good time.
Yeah, it was a
but
good
he
time.
would bring his friends out
Yeah.
with him and
Yep.
like now looking back, like
I was there, so was
one
my
of
other
Nikki's
friends. Yeah.
and he
That's
was one of
crazy.
Carmen's friends.
Yeah, it's
That's
wild.
nuts.
Yeah.
Totally really crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, so off the bad times of mortgages, let's try and get
Or
better
were
into
they
the
good
better times.
I don't know.
It's been good times lately.
It was. It has been good. Those were good times until the very end.
Hey, it's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
bad times that make you stronger.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, that was wild. Those were wild times. But
Totally.
nowadays, it's a lot better now. I would say it's a lot more balloon blocked. So like, there's not going to be a balloon pop like last time.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people say, "Oh, the values are going to drastically change," and I'm like, "There's no possible way." But that being said, how do you feel about that?
So I have a lot of feelings. on
Okay,
this.
yeah, it's
so. Cleveland, real estate's local. And
Yeah.
so when I went on vacation this summer, I had heard before I went on vacation that like other markets weren't doing as great as we were, like Austin, Texas, Atlanta, Florida,
Yep.
Vegas. Like I had heard some of these other markets, California, doing as great as we were. And I met this agent at the bar in Hilton Head, and she's awesome. Like we're still friends on Instagram. And like I had said something about an appraisal gap, and she like spit her drink out. She was like, "You're still doing appraisal gaps in Cleveland?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Oh my gosh, like we haven't done that in like so long."
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like we've been really blessed because when you think about real estate and like trends, you kind of have to watch the coast, and then it comes into us, and it
Yep.
kind of affects us last. So in Cleveland, we're lucky in that aspect. I do notice that it's slowed down. But I've also picked up in my business.
Yeah,
So
sure.
it's like this weird thing where I've seen that the market is slowing, but I think that could be, we're post-election, moving into the holidays. Like, I think it's the timing as
Yep.
well. But I've really picked up with like new listings. I've had buyers coming out of the woodwork. And then as a result of the buyers, you've got buyers and sellers.
Yep.
So I feel like if anything, we're stable.
I would say stable. Yeah,
I would
agree
say
with
we're
you.
really
Yeah.
stable. I don't see prices going down. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we could communicate to buyers is if you're sitting on the sidelines waiting for prices to come down, they're not coming down. And I think a lot of people are also waiting for interest rates to drop. And if you're somebody who's waiting for interest rates to drop and you're price sensitive, you need to buy now.
Yeah,
And the
you do.
reason you need to buy now is because when those rates do, if they do drop to
Yep.
4 or 5%,
Who would have never? Yeah, we'd never have thought
never.
that there'd be a 75 basis point cut in the Fed rate and rates go up.
And they went up.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure it's happened before. I'm sure when I was younger, maybe
It's
it happened.
shocking.
And I just didn't. I missed it. I didn't pay attention to it because of my young days of mortgage. You just didn't pay attention to
Yeah,
that.
you just had fun
But
with
I'm just saying, from what I can remember, I've never seen that occur. Like if you'd have asked me, if you'd have said 10 months before now and been like, "Hey, they're going to cut at the end of the year, they're going to cut rates by 75 basis points. What do you think the interest rates are going to be at?" I'd be probably in the fives.
it. Yeah. And then
Never set high sixes.
no.
Yeah.
But when they do drop, because they will drop to at least 5 at some point in time.
Oh yeah.
From everything I've heard from Barbara from Shark Tank,
Oh,
from
yeah.
Keeping Current Matters, every source I follow, prices are
Yeah.
going to go up by 10 to 15%.
Because then the sellers are going to know. Like,
And the
well,
bidding
now-
wars.
Well, look at
now people are
October.
gonna
The
buy.
statistics show it. Like rates,
Oh,
that
yeah.
real small little rate drop caused an increase in sellers and buyers.
Yeah. And it's funny because the consumers don't realize that, like, that rate drop for mortgages, at least, it was already baked in. Like, we knew that that was coming. So, you guys on the mortgage industry, like, it was kind of already baked in.
Yep.
But then the volume of clients, like, came out of nowhere
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of thing.
Oh yeah, our October was really good. Our January's really good, and our pipeline right now is bigger than we've had in probably the last couple of years. And it's really because of. I really think it's because, like you said, I think we're going to have a pretty even keel market.
Yeah.
But a lot of that's because people came out of the woodwork and started to look for homes
Well, everyone
because
heard.
rates dropped.
Everyone
Yeah.
heard the Fed's dropping the rate. The Fed's dropping the rate, and
Right.
they're like, "Oh, well, let's get on this." And
Yeah.
and then it didn't.
And once
And
they
then it
start
went
looking,
up.
they're going to keep going, and that's what
Yeah.
happened. They started looking when rates dropped, and so now they found houses.
But like you said, like, who would have thought that the rates would have then gone back up?
The looks that I get when I tell them like where the rates are, they're like, "Well, didn't the Fed just drop the rate?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, but that doesn't always mean
Yeah. Oh, you're good.
that it's going to go down."
Yep.
Well, also, it's like they're around 7-ish right now.
Yeah, like high 6.
Right, high 6. And like that's like technically the average over the past 50 years. And everybody has been so like used to this like 2s and 3s. Like those are never happening again.
Stuff, yeah.
Like
Well,
ever.
And I think too that the shock with the the 6s and the high 6 and the low 7s is kind of in correlation with also prices are so much higher right now than they were back then.
Yes.
The last time the rates were this high. So they're a little bit more price conscious, I guess.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing a lot of payment shock when I'm running numbers for people.
Yep.
Yeah.
But they also don't realize it's taxes. And
Well, yeah,
that's the other thing
taxes, I would not
people need
consider.
to be prepared for is like taxes are going to go up in January. They're going to come out in December.
Oh,
They'll be
yeah.
a little bit higher, but it's just going to happen.
Like, that's life, though. That's
Yeah, it's life.
I mean,
everything.
like, okay, not to be like Debbie Downer,
Oh, yeah, you're
negative
good.
Nancy over here again, but like consumer affordability
Mhm.
right now.
Yep.
I mean, you've got, the price shock from the mortgage and the price of the house, but then you have like the insurance industry and everything that's happening there.
Yep.
And with those taxes, it's like all of this stuff is like compounding. It'll be really interesting to see what does happen next year.
Yeah.
Because I gotta think that like at least the stability of things like makes things like balance out more kind of thing.
Yeah.
And like people like start getting over the shock of it all kind of thing.
Yeah. And that's really it is stability.
Yeah.
When things stabilize, people are okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think next year is going to be a good year for everybody.
Same.
It's just everybody getting to that point where they feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Because stability does bring comfortability. So like if stuff stops going up, because it just seems like one after the other for people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If rates dip a little bit, that'll be better for them. Even
That'll
though
be
insurance
huge,
and
yeah.
taxes go up, that'll help.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a little bit of that too.
And what else is interesting is like from like a listing agent perspective, there's a lot of people that are still expecting the homes to sell in like a weekend. And
Yeah.
yes, that is still happening.
Yep,
But
it is.
it's
Not as much,
slowing
yep.
down a little bit.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And it's like this is getting to a healthy market. Our market hasn't been healthy for years, and multiple offers asking or going 100,000 over with a full appraisal gap from your
So
401k
crazy.
and no inspections. And that's just unrealistic. Like that, it's not healthy.
It's not.
So getting back to this is like or stability is like so much better for the consumers as well.
I was just about to say that. Yeah, you're correct. It's so much better for the
so
consumers.
much better.
Because they don't realize like that market is not healthy for the market in general.
No.
That
no.
continues down that path. Just like low
Inflation.
rates cause what we have now. So like
Yeah.
we had ridiculously low interest rates, and now we have really low inventory. And the reason for that is because of those low interest rates. The longer that continues, the harder to come out of that hangover it is. And that's what people don't realize is that if that kept going and it continues to go, that there's gonna be something that happens
There
on the
has
negative
to
side
be.
of that.
Like
Yep.
it's just checks and balances kind of
Yeah.
thing. But on a listing agent side as well, FHA. Let's talk about that for a
Okay.
second. Because what I'm seeing is people are shocked when or not shocked, but like a seller doesn't love FHA.
Yep.
And like understandably so, there is an additional inspection that comes along with it. And we've kind of trained people like, oh, let's look for an offer with no inspections or like an inspection for info only. And you almost have to like retrain a seller's mind and show them like I have an app on my phone that keeps up with the rates and show them that like the FHA rate is so much lower than the conventional rate right
It
now.
is.
And like it may be more affordable for somebody with an like high credit score to just go FHA because the rate is that's a huge difference in rate right now.
Oh, huge difference. And it's also the MI is cheaper
The MI is cheaper.
in some cases.
It's credit score.
Depends
makes
on your
it
credit score if you're affordable or whatever. But yeah.
It's more affordable. It's a little bit more forgiving if they've had any kind of like credit event or stuff like that. So FHA is a really good program, and it not necessarily
A bad thing.
is not bad for a seller to accept it.
Yeah.
And I've had conventional loans come back with more conditions than FHA ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But I think too, everybody thinks like FHA, is there something wrong with the buyer? And like these days, it's like there doesn't have to be like, and showing
That's
them
the
the,
issue, is they don't
difference
realize
of the
that.
rate is
Yeah.
like they're doing this because it's more affordable.
Yeah, that is exactly it.
Absolutely.
Like,
Affordability. But the other thing that there's a lot more FHAs because of one, it's getting tougher to get approvals on Fannie and Freddie. I don't know why. I'm assuming prior the privatization, they're getting prepared for that. That's an assumption, and don't take that as the word. These are all
should
just
we
like
dive into
these
that?
are all like conspiracy theory stuff.
I love
That's a
conspiracy
whole
theories.
podcast.
I can go, yeah.
but
Give me the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
That's it.
But also higher debt to incomes, where
Yeah.
FHA allows for the higher debt to income ratios than conventional does.
Are you seeing that a lot more now? Is the higher?
I mean,
like,
it could be the
debt?
clientele depending on where we're working, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we see a lot of, at least from the pipeline, because I see the whole pipeline. I see a lot more FHA deals, and I see a ton of investor deals. I mean, a ton of investor
Investors are like,
tons, but they're not
Pretty
like
big right
business investors. So I don't want to confuse people. They're more
Right.
like guy has 3-4 properties. You know what I mean?
it's not like
Investors.
BlackRock coming in.
Yeah, it's not BlackRock
Yeah.
coming in buying Cleveland, right?
Right. People worry about that. Like I've had sellers say, like, I don't want to sell to like a BlackRock
Yep.
kind of thing. But there's a difference between like that and like Joe Schmo that like just has like a small portfolio.
Yeah, like 5-10 properties.
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
Cleveland's big. I mean, a lot of out-of-state investors. A lot.
Yeah.
I would say half of the investors that I talk to are out of state.
And foreign. I mean, we've got like,
Yep.
right now, there's probably 10 foreign investors in contract in our pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
Foreign, like Canada, or we had one we just closed that was from Venezuela,
Oh wow.
which was tough because it's on the OFAC list.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
gonna
So
say, how did we get that?
we have a broker partner that allows that. But that being said, like there's a lot of out-of-country investors, which is
Yeah.
wild to me. It's a lot more than I've ever seen.
My husband used to be a general contractor and owned his own remodeling company. And he had a investor that was from Israel and then had a house in California, in LA. And they flipped over like 70 homes in Detroit together. And I mean, realistically speaking, like it was the saddest thing. It was like people just one day like were like, screw it. And they got up and they left their
Just walked
home.
away from their house.
And there was pictures, there was dinner on the table, and they just were like, I can find a life somewhere else. But the money that can be made on some of these
Yeah.
is like a game changer. You know, you can buy these properties in either in bulk or individually,
Yep.
and I mean, sell them for
Sell them for a lot more.
Yeah.
I seem to be doing a lot of the fix and flips or the fix and holds lately.
Yeah.
I'm getting a lot of interest with that kind of thing where people are trying to buy up those dilapidated properties that like really nobody wants.
Yeah,
or
no
that
one
they
can get
can't live
approved.
in
Yeah.
or
Right.
something like that need the work, but they don't have the cash to do it. So like I've been doing a lot of those.
Yep.
Which I've always thought that those were like pretty difficult loans to do, but I'm finding they're really not. It's
No,
just you
they're
have to find like the right borrower.
It's getting the cadence down, like any loan.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this is the cadence for this type of loan. And now you nail it. Like I remember, because like these bank statements and DSCR loans, they were out, 10 years ago,
Yeah.
if not longer. I mean, a long
Really?
time ago. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I didn't
I
Yeah, they're
remember.
not new.
Yeah, I
they
was.
were new.
We were at 2017. I remember doing bank statement loans. 16 doing bank statement loans.
I started them when I was at Huntington.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean probably like 2016, 17.
Yeah. So that's not 10 years ago, but that's
Close.
close.
But that's
Um,
really good for like the consumer to know too that like
Yeah.
if you, because I think that everybody wants to be an investor right now because
Mhm.
they're seeing the price of homes and what's been going on kind of thing. And I think there's a lot of confusion on like what you need to get started with this because if you maybe have like 2 Airbnbs or 2 rental units and you can show that like, okay, like I can do this kind of thing.
Yep.
That can kind of help you.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And then the DSCR loan, it seems to just be a better loan now
Yeah.
than the conventional way because again, my conspiracy theory is I think they want to privatize. Well, I know they do. I mean, that was part of the approach by the new president coming in is that he wants to privatize Fannie and Freddie. The last thing you want in your portfolio if you're private is going to be investment properties from my thought. That's why they priced them. They have to. They still do them.
Yeah.
But the price is just so outrageous.
Like it makes
no sense.
to run it as
Yeah.
a conventional
Yeah.
DSCR.
Yeah, it makes
That
no
makes
sense.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's my conspiracy theory that I'm sticking with.
Dun, dun, dun.
But it just seems to be a better loan DSCR, and there's less reserves required. Like, whereas if you have multiple properties, Fannie requires you to have reserves for all the properties, or like DSCR only requires you to have reserves for the property you're doing, and it's less. So it's a way better loan.
And even like what I've noticed with DSCR is that, again, I kind of circle back to like, they've got a credit event, or if they've got, a blip on their history or whatever, there's like, they're probably going to pay more for the loan, but it's still doable. It's not
like a hard no.
Whereas conventional, like,
They just won't buy it.
They just won't do it.
You won't get a Fannie or Freddie approval through the LP or DU. So, So what are you seeing trends wise with buyers?
With buyers?
Yeah. I know
I've
you're a
had
lot
them
of
coming.
listings.
I am, but I feel like I'm usually like 50-50 in my business. It's usually like half buyers, half sellers, which I like because I feel like the biggest mistake I've seen other agents make is, I'm a listing agent.
Yeah.
No, you're a real estate agent.
agent.
Some years you're going to be a listing agent, and some years you're going to be a buyer's agent. It is
That's
what
a
it
good
is.
attitude to have, because I have heard that before. Like, I'm a listing agent. I don't want to deal with
Right?
it.
Like, okay, well, good luck when the market changes. But, like...
That's what happened to me. We were a refi heavy shop about 4 years ago.
And then it changes.
It drastically changed,
And you just got to be ready for it.
Yep.
So I'll take all of those buyers from those listing agents. But like,
sure, you don't want them, send them my way.
Send them my way.
Yeah.
I feel like people are starting to get kind of excited on the buyer side because there's not the multiple offers.
Yep.
I think in November I wrote 2 deals with contingencies, and like we haven't seen that in a while. And I have one buyer right now who's like willing to like hold out for and use the house sale contingency.
Oh yeah,
Doesn't
I've been
mean
part
it's
of a
gonna
deal where
happen,
you're a
but-
great buyer's agent. I've been a deal where the borrower walked in with like $40,000 in equity.
Yeah.
When we did.
Oh yeah.
I was like, geez, you really did a great job with these people.
That
They
was
got
crazy.
$40,000 in equity.
Yeah.
And it was and again,
And how often does that happen?
and the score on so Fannie and Freddie grade your appraisals.
Yeah.
And so the score is it was a 1. It was a CU score at 1. So it wasn't a high risk appraisal, which means it wasn't even like a
Question.
stretched appraisal or anything like that. It was like a good appraisal, and it was still
Nice.
40,000. But anyway, go ahead.
But I feel like people are like starting to get excited that the market is changing.
Yeah.
Just because it allows the buyer to maybe go back for a second look, or maybe like give them time to think about it. There's a lot of buyers out there that like they don't have the like they want to think about it. And nobody likes to go look at a home for 10 minutes and then be like, you got to buy it. What do you want? Like 40,000 over, no inspections. You feel comfortable with that? Like nobody feels comfortable
No,
with
like
that.
how sick would you feel if that was you on
Right.
your-
Like, oh my
well,
God, what if there's mold in the attic? Or like, oh my gosh, like what if the foundation's crumbling and I don't know it because it's finished, And unless that inspector puts the moisture reader up to the wall, like, you don't know. So I think there's some I would say positive consumer confidence right now from that perspective. I think the payment and everything is a little bit to swallow, but I'm hearing a lot of people say, well, I'll just refinance. And that's the right attitude. That's how you're going to win right now is you buy now and know if you can afford it, make the move. If you can afford it, do it. Don't let anything hold you back from doing what you want to do, because in the future, you can just refinance.
100%.
Or something that I think so many people don't know, and I talk about all the time, is recasting. And I think that it's such an asset to have that conversation in my listing appointments when they're also going to buy, because it's less expensive than a refi. And if you are selling house A that you're currently in now to buy house B, and let's say it's a move up buy, and you've been in house A that you bought for $198 in 2018, and you've been there and you've updated it, and now you have like $100,000 or more in equity, taking that lump sum can almost be better than the refinance because it's just going to recalculate. Now you do have to be careful because you don't want to screw anybody over, and you want to do it a few months after everything started. But I think the recast is one of the most under talked about tools by real estate agents.
I feel like realtors don't know a lot about it.
No, and it's an important thing.
Yeah.
I feel.
It was huge like a huge deal when I was a few years ago at a couple other lenders was like the recast program. You know, rates are trending up. Like,
Yeah.
let's talk about the recast. It's only a couple $100 and stuff like that. But realtors were like, what is that? Tell me more. And,
Right.
And it's definitely something that, you know, as long as it's beneficial for everyone. that we
And if
should
you
talk
can
to- talk about.
recast this year and then in 2 years refi, you're in like a baller situation.
Yes.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
And so just because you did recast doesn't mean you can't refi later.
That's correct.
But like there are stepping stones that you can set yourself up for success with, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
I think the bigger question is what are you guys seeing from buyers and how are you winning right now? Because you're probably getting, I'm going to guess, shopped a little bit more with the rates going up than previously.
Yeah, no, you see more shopping,
Yeah.
which is good for the buyers.
Yeah.
You know, they get the best loan possible. The only hard part is, so I'll see some of this. This is I'm not going to call people out, but mostly banks will they'll manipulate a settlement statement. So they don't give them a loan estimate; they give them a manipulated settlement statement. You see it with some brokers and some big ticket lenders, and they won't even put the title fees in there. Like so, borrowers don't realize like those aren't our fees. Like those
everybody
fees are
can
not
have
our
those.
fees. Like
Yeah.
your taxes aren't our fees. It's like
Yeah.
well, your fees are so high, and I'm like, well, those aren't our fees. Like our fees are the underwriting and processing fee,
Right.
and that's it. The other
Yeah.
fees are you bought the rate down, and then also like title fees and escrow fees. Like right now, you got to hold. We try to do everything exact. We don't manipulate the numbers,
Yeah.
which is just how we want to do business. Because I don't
I
want a
think
borrower to
that's
think he's
good.
got to bring or she's got to bring, 4,000 to the table and they end up having to bring 8.
Yeah.
So right now, if we close right now, I mean, taxes are due in January, so you're going to have to hold 6. But if they're not out yet, they're going to make you hold 150% of 6. And that's what we're sending out now to
Yeah.
be exact, because I don't want something to happen.
And then be like, oh, well,
What is
you
this?
said
Shortage.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and then we
That-
also correctly put in the prorations. So,
Yeah.
so we put that in there too, as correct as we can get it. But again, if they come out, it'll be lower or higher depending on when taxes come and how much they are. But
Yeah.
a lot of them won't even put any escrow in. They won't put any I've seen one where I was referred a borrower and they were with a bank and it had no title fees, no escrow fees, nothing. Just
Oh.
here's our origination, here's your cost for the rate. That's it. And I'm like, well, you did. They don't choose the title company. You have to
Right.
use the title company you guys chose in the purchase contract. Like,
Right.
There's going to be title fees, and they're going to be the exact same. Escrows
Right.
are going to be the
Right,
exact
they
same.
match
Most of the time.
the
So-
lender, yeah.
So
Yeah.
see these numbers here, compare those numbers, and that's it.
Yeah.
All the other stuff is just not real.
I think that there's a huge misunderstanding with like the big banks, like the bank that like, you do your checking account with and your savings account with
Yep.
versus like a bank that like you that like specializes in mortgages. And I don't think people really understand what like this is what you do. And like a big bank, and just to throw like Huntington out there, for
100%.
example, like or like Fifth Third or PNC, they have so many different programs that they offer that when you're buying a house, the entire process is going to be so much better if you go through it with somebody like
mortgage
yourself,
company, mortgage
with a
lender,
mortgage
yeah.
company where they like that's all you
That's all they
do.
do.
Yeah.
And like it's going to be a smoother process. Sometimes when you're with the banks, you get like I don't know if I can say bank like names on here,
Yeah,
but
don't
like
say names. Yeah.
but there's like some banks that like
I could call out so many of them, but yeah.
that like I've seen like the fees for VA can significantly higher than
Yep.
with like a mortgage company.
Yep.
And people like just don't realize that. And
And experience in general.
yeah,
You know, the-
experience is huge.
Of course,
the
yeah.
process can be even the appraiser. I had a
Appraisals, yep.
house on the lake, and this large bank sent their appraiser out from Findlay, Ohio,
crazy.
and deemed it in a flood zone. I'm like, this is a Lake Road property. This is prime grade
Yeah.
A real estate in Cleveland, Ohio, and you're going to tell me it's in a flood zone? Like,
Right.
no, not
And
at all.
And I've worked at big banks,
Yep.
and I've worked at mortgage companies, and I've worked at a broker, and I've been at multiple different places. And one thing I can say, big bank versus like a mortgage company, is you're not waiting 3 or 4 days. Like if something changes, or you need an update, or you need like if you submit something, you're not waiting. 5 days to hear
Yeah.
back from somebody because
You have a
there are
real
20
person.
other people in front of you.
Yeah.
It's everybody's here getting, the process to the next step.
And you have a
in
real
time,
person
in real time
that you can call that isn't committed to like banking hours.
Yep.
Right.
That's available weekends.
And what they also don't realize is like banks can't do anything with profit. So I was part of a couple banks with Todd. We stood up and helped stand up the operational side of things.
Mm-hmm.
So if that bank makes, we were part of a bank that we brought in $100 million a month in volume to them. They went from doing 20 million to 120 million a month, and that profit was astounding for them. They can't touch that profit. So like the board can't go, okay, we made $10 million this year. Let's take 2 each.
Oh.
That's the bank's profit. 100% against all FDIC regulations for them to touch that. All they can do with that profit is either go to the shareholders and say, can we get increased salaries? Can we get bonuses? And sometimes there's shared bonuses, which are sometimes worthless unless the bank sells.
Right.
And then, or they can use that to buy other banks.
Yeah.
So unless they're not in growth mode, it's just a service. And I don't want to go more into, but it's just a service at that point. Now they're just offering a service because the only thing that really matters to them is how much of your checking, savings, money markets,
Are with that
business
like,
accounts
specific
with
bank.
them. That's
Right.
really what's important because
Yeah.
that's just the banking, regulation or how banks work. Again, it's just a service, and they don't care if they close that loan or not, as long as they don't lose you as a customer. That's
Right.
why they're more conservative, more overlays on underwriting. So
Well, underwriting's like huge with those because those bigger banks,
Mm-hmm.
you may not even know who the underwriter is. They could be in a totally different state than you.
yeah,
Whereas with a smaller mortgage company or a local mortgage company,
yeah,
A, you have access to multiple different banks to get them the best rate possible. But B, you know the underwriter. They may even be in your office
Yeah.
and you can have a conversation with
talk to
them,
them.
and explain, yes, this is a difficult situation and I understand why you're flagging this, but let me tell you the backstory
yeah.
and see how we can like problem solve our way through this. Where with those bigger banks, you can't problem solve your way through it with the underwriter because they could be in Hawaii and you're here in Cleveland, and you're at a different time zone, and it's just
And they have
pulling your
safety
hair.
and soundness stuff that they have to abide by, where we don't have to abide by that.
oh,
So there's safe. There's like there was one place I was at, and they're like, you're doing too many refis.
Yep.
And it's
Oh,
like,
really?
what?
I had
They're
to balance
you're doing,
my
you have to
refis with
balance your
my-
refis with your purchases. But I'm like, it's a refi heavy year. I mean, its rates have
Yeah.
drastically decreased. They're like, just too many refis.
Yeah, we would start seeing people who were just refi people just kind of scooting away. Like,
So they would start to turn down refis.
Yeah.
Or
I feel like refis are becoming big again. My bank calls me like all the time.
well,
I think it would
For
be.
refi.
Move
I
that
think
way.
too, like kind of to piggyback on what you were saying
Because
earlier.
equity's at an all-time
Yeah.
high.
Well, yeah, equity is so high. If they need to do any kind of repairs, if they need to do any projects, I mean, why? If they're consolidating all their credit card debt that they've accumulated because everything's so expensive, like it makes sense to do the refi right now.
Yeah.
There's
but-
a ridiculous amount of tappable equity right
Oh,
now.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Which is 80%.
Yeah.
So the amount from balance to 80% is just ridiculous. I want to say it's like $11 billion or
Mhm.
something like that in tappable
gosh.
equity.
So like that's what I've been
not
kind
more.
of. I'll get back to what I was saying
Yeah,
a
go
minute
ahead.
ago, but like that's kind of what I've been telling some of my borrowers who are struggling with payments and stuff like that. Like, hey, if you've got the equity, maybe your rate will go up a little bit on your mortgage, but you're paying 25-30% on your credit cards. You're paying $1,800 a month on your home equity line. Like, why wouldn't you utilize the equity that you've put all this work into
Yeah.
Got it.
to
And then refi later.
To
Like
refinance
the higher
it later.
the higher late, a little bit higher rate now, and then a year later refi again. to reduce
absolutely,
it.
you're still going to save money because you're getting rid of all these high credit card payments.
Right.
And I mean,
Your
it is.
DTI improves.
Yeah. But to kind of go back to what you were saying about the banks and stuff, at the end of the day, again, because I've been on that side where,
Yep.
they don't really care if the mortgage closes or not. They don't prioritize it. So
Definitely.
the process is not as smooth. It's
all.
not smooth at all. And again, they just want you this is kind of where I was going with it. They want you to, like, I ended up being more of a mortgage banker
Mm-hmm.
instead of a loan officer because they were, I would want, if I'm buying my house, I would want my loan officer to be focused on my mortgage. I don't want them to be talking about my checking account. I don't want them to be talking about my credit card debt unless it's, applicable to getting the loan done.
Right.
But like, I don't want to talk about my money market fund. I don't want to talk about, all that growth in my 401k and getting with a financial advisor until at the right time.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it got to be, because they do want you to stay and stick with the bank, it got to be like, oh, you got a mortgage, great, who cares? But what else did you get?
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like, that's
enough
not what
about us, more about you. You
Yeah.
started your
Oh.
team this year, huh?
I did. I
Yeah?
did. Yes.
How's that going?
It's going good. So,
awesome.
I have Nicole. Well, I have Anne. So Anne is my transaction coordinator.
Ann is amazing.
Isn't she?
She's awesome.
She's like a gift from God. I feel like she will walk through fire for me, and I am so thankful for her.
So important.
But like, I just love her, and I think that her professionalism and her past experience just like puts a good face on everything.
Yeah.
And she's like she's a lot like me with problem solving, thinking, and everything.
Yep.
And then I added Nicole. So Nicole is a newer agent.
Yep.
So it's been an interesting time to kind of seeing like what she's learned from the past
Yep.
and how to strengthen her.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
That's
she's
usually
doing
the
good.
hardest thing when new people come on is trying to look at their old habits and then trying to work with them into
Yeah.
maybe say, okay, this works for me, maybe that doesn't work. I really enjoy it. It's kind of cool.
It is kind of, and she's
Yeah.
closed like multiple deals this year.
Yep, she
So
has.
she's
Yep.
like, she reminds me of myself in a way, because I remember when I first started at Keller Williams.
Yep.
So I had loved my company in Toledo that I was with, and then I moved back to Cleveland. I came to a smaller brokerage, and all my friends were at Keller Williams where I am now, and I just wanted to be there because I saw how much business that they were doing.
Yep.
So, and then I got there, and I was doing all the right things, but it just takes time. And I remember
It really does.
people saying like, "Hey, like it's gonna happen.
come. Yeah.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
gonna come. Like you just have to be patient and keep doing what you're doing." And I feel like she's kind of me,
Yep.
where like I see
love
her
it.
doing a lot of the right things,
Yeah.
and like everybody, including myself, there's always stuff to work on.
Always.
But like she's just like so close to like kind of exploding with it.
It's awesome.
And I feel like I am like kind of giving her the same talk that people gave me. Like,
It's crazy,
just
right?
keep going. Like
That's
you're,
it.
you're
gotta
doing
keep
the right
the
thing.
motivation up. Like
Yeah.
I love Nicole. I think she's a great
Yeah, she's
person,
awesome.
and I think she's going to do really well.
Yeah.
She's got the motivation and the drive. She wants it so bad.
Yes, which
And
is good.
If she keeps that,
Yeah.
and she keeps going, and she surrounds herself with the right people, she's going to kill it.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm
But
doing
there's
the same
always
thing
that
on our
part,
side too.
and I haven't seen her hit it yet, but like there's that part where it's like, I don't know if I can keep going. Like, I don't know if I can keep doing this.
Well, yeah.
And then like right when that happens, boom,
Boom.
is when it's like overdrive.
I just did that same talk with the guy in the office down the hall. The same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing. He was like, "Oh, this is blah 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 blah." Yeah, and he's keeping positive, which is awesome.
Because
And
you're
then,
growing like crazy.
Boom! All of a sudden, boom! He got like 5 contracts in, and he's closing 4 loans this month.
it feels
it's like it just
good.
happens
Good
just
for
like
him.
that.
Yeah.
It's like instant. Same thing happened with another guy down the hall. Now he's so moneyed up, it's ridiculous.
And
You know what I
you're
mean?
riding that high, and you're like, God, I got to keep doing this.
But it's the same
Yes.
thing. It's that your point is perfect to hear because it's exactly what it is.
It is. Like
Yeah.
you just have to keep like we all know what you need to do.
Yeah.
And what I find interesting, me and Nicole talked about this week, is social media. You know, it's so important, and there's a real fine line between like providing value on social media and like
Yes.
doing all the things you see every real estate agent and loan officer in town do.
Yeah.
And like some of those things that those people are doing, it's
great.
not that they're not trying and doing great, but like where's your personal value at? Like how do you fit yourself in between like value and fun,
Yep.
right? And so kind of like working through that is because while social media is important, there's so much more that needs to happen before social media
Correct.
Oh, yeah.
before you can like get there. And I think that we all do a really great job in our industry of making our jobs look easy when there is like Like, I mean, we're all together every Friday morning at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
Like, that's not fun. I mean, it's fun.
It sucks. No, I'm just
No, I
kidding.
mean, it's fun. Like,
It's
I
not
love
great
it.
being early. I know what you mean.
But you gotta get
Yeah.
up and show up and dress up and do all the things. And
And with social media, like you said, views are I can get a bunch of people to stare at me.
right.
But what are they thinking when they're staring at me?
Right.
So social media views don't always mean good things. They're going to be a bunch of people who look at your videos.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean they're looking at them and saying, oh, wow, that is someone I want to work with.
Right.
They could be thinking, oh my God, this person is so silly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But that's not, like, I have like a video saved on my phone of a doctor dancing down the hall while they're getting ready for someone to do surgery on them. And I was like, I always use my brother as an example. So I use that example with loan officers, like, would you want that person to do surgery for you?
Right. And what do they say?
And they're like, no.
No.
And I'm like, well, that's when you're doing what you're doing
Yeah.
on social media. That's you got to remember that. And again, you could do whatever you want. I could walk down the street with my shirt off and in my underwear. People are going to stare at me, but they're not going to be like, that's a guy I want to do business
I want him
with.
to do my mortgage.
I want him to
I
do my mortgage.
I want him to see my finances.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
That's
Go ahead, sorry.
that's a line too that I feel like you've helped me kind of rein in a little bit. I'm a very goofy person.
We all are.
And
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I like to have fun.
that, but I also want to be authentic. I don't want to come off because I'm not that serious financial person.
Correct. And you are.
I want
You
to
want to
come off
find
as
your way
professional,
to add
but
value, but
like I want to come off as professional, but yet also approachable and authentic.
yeah.
And me still.
Yeah.
And that's something that
100%.
you've helped me a lot with. And you.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh.
Your videos are always so good.
Oh, well, my thing is like, do you guys know my nickname from high school?
I don't. I want
you
to
know
say
my-
it's like Britney Spears something.
No, it's not. My nickname is Krusty.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
And,
that,
like-
that was not what I was gonna.
If you walk into like a party of Berea people, somebody's gonna be like Krusty, like, and it's just like my thing. Like, I don't know. I've always been crusty, so so there is a part of me that like shows my crustiness, I guess, for lack of a better term. And then there is like the serious side that like adds value.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what else drives me nuts is there's so many real estate agents that have like dual careers, which is cool unless you're trying to have a dual like sell, I don't know, like
An MLM.
I'm an MLM or something. Yeah. And like I always use the analogy of, look, if I'm married to Elon Musk and I'm divorcing Elon Musk, I don't want my family law attorney to also be selling essential oils because like be the
agree.
master of your craft and own it. And
Yes.
like if you're going to be in real estate or you're going to be in mortgage, like own it and like provide value, lead with value. Don't go off and talk about essential oils because if I have a $1 million lake house that I'm going to, or now it's like a $3 million lake house I'm going to sell, I'm not going to use you. I'm going to use the person that's the master of their craft.
Mm-hmm.
But same thing goes for that buyer who is maybe getting divorced and embarrassed of it and needs like true guidance because they have to sell this house potentially. They may have to refi. There's so many things that happen in that divorce that you don't want, Sally, who's also hustling makeup, to be, I don't know, dealing with
Dealing with
helping you
anything else,
navigate this tough financial time.
Right.
You're speaking my language because I always tell people smart and intelligent is relative.
Mm-hmm.
It's relative to the subject.
Mhm.
It's definitely relative. So I always tell people, we used to say this, and we used to have a guy that killed it. Doing a bunch of loans, but everybody be like, oh, he's so stupid. He doesn't, why is he, he's a dummy. And they would always be like, Matt, you're so smart. And I would be like, smart is relative. So I was like, right now we're in mortgages. We're talking about mortgages. So now I look like a genius because I really make mortgages my life. I study mortgage. I watch mortgage videos. I learn, like, that's it.
Yeah.
So I make that my downline. I was like, he is a huge Lakers fan and a Kobe Bryant fan. And I always use this analogy in front of everybody at the group too, back then too. But I was like, if you took me and him in the other room and turned on the cameras and made this a Kobe Bryant Laker quiz show, you guys would be like, this dude is an idiot. He's a bumbling fool. This guy's a big dumb caveman. And you'd be talking about me.
Yep.
And you tell everybody he's a genius.
Right.
But it's the same thing. If you're learning this and that and this, you're never going to learn everything you can about that.
Right.
And that's exactly it. Like you nailed
And
it.
it's trust. And it's like you see like, and so like with working with like younger people on the team, it's like, they see a lot of this like social media stuff going on. And like there's agents that, you know, it looks like they're trying to flaunt money or they're trying to flaunt whatever it is. And that's cool because you're trying to create an image and I respect it.
That's your brand.
That's your brand. But at the same time, my dad always told me people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And if you don't really care about what's going on, like with other people, it doesn't matter what you're doing on social media. If you can't communicate to them as real people,
right?
You know, and be there for them, then you know, you're wasting your time all the way around.
And I do notice that some of the ones that are like flaunting the wealth and flaunting the, you know, their crazy success, which is again good for them.
Yeah,
their brand.
But it's their brand, and I respect it.
They can't relate to they're only taking specific clients. They're not approachable, and that's just not kind of what I got into the business for.
Yeah.
I think caring is the most important part.
Yeah.
I always tell people if you care about your clients, then you'll get paid.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. That'll come later.
I don't know. Like, Todd handles all that stuff. So it's like, I don't even know. Like, there was years where I was like, all right, how much are we making? You know what I mean? Because it was like, he's really good at that stuff. And I kind of focus on the operational side of things. So it's like, but he's the same way. They'll talk to a client for 4 hours. And it's not because he needs to. It's because he cares to hear their story.
Yeah.
And that's legitimately it. Is if you care, you'll succeed in anything.
The cheesiest thing, like we were talking about or I said before, like how there's some agents where, you know, I'm a listing agent, you know, and I think that's cool, you know, but I am too. But there is this moment with buyers, and it is like, when you're in a home with somebody and you've looked at one other home or 20 other homes or 50 other homes, and there is a look that comes on their face, and there is this body language that happens that I can't create that feeling for anybody. And usually what happens is like I see it in the man first. Like the women are much more vocal. So they're walking through there. Oh, I love this light fixture. Oh, I could do this. And you can like hear it. But with a man, they sit down on the couch and they cross their legs and they kind of put their hands back behind their head and they look around. And I can see in that moment when they sat down on that piece of furniture, that's awesome, that this is their house. And if it's in multiple offers, he doesn't care. He's going to go for that house. And there is something that is like so exciting and like, I don't know, it's cheesy as hell, but it just makes my heart so happy. And I recognize this and I'm just like, just from like years of experience, you can see it. And some of my really good friends, like my friend Steven, when they bought last year, he was like really cautious to like sit down on a piece of furniture in front of me because he like knew that story. This is like, I look for this.
He's like, I'm not giving this away to anybody.
And then he did. And he's like, I know I'm sitting down. And I'm like, you are sitting down. But like, it's a good thing, you know? Like, I think you can't recreate that moment.
No, you can't.
And like, if you're like, if you don't see that in people, then like you're not really like connected to them, you know?
Well, yeah, and that's how you know that you have a good realtor too, is that they can kind of recognize that.
Yeah.
And then you know that you're going to do everything you can to get them that house.
Oh, yeah.
Like
let's
they had the moment.
Together.
Like this is like all cards on the table.
Yeah. Like let's do it. Let's go hard or go home. Yeah.
That's what you do a great job is relationships. Like that's really what you're good at. I mean, because you're all relationship based, like 100%.
Yeah,
which is crazy, and you kill it.
It's like this weird thing. I've been a bridesmaid 17 times.
I know. I was just about to say that. I was gonna say I think you've been a bridesmaid like a ridiculous amount of times.
Yeah,
like that movie from 27 Dresses.
Yes. And I didn't realize that like I do this, and my husband pointed it out to me when we were in Vegas this year. We were walking into like one of the big restaurants or casino buildings, and somebody's walking out. I think we were at Caesars, and we're walking in, and somebody else is walking out, and they're like, Christine? And I was like, oh my gosh, like, hi, like, I thought that was you, and like, blah, blah, blah. And like, we like had this moment, and then we walked away, and Matt's like, who was that? I'm like, we were on a party bus with her last weekend, and like, da-da-da-da. And I like told him like all this stuff about her, and he's like, and we sat down for dinner, and like, it was steak. I remember that. And we were like, he's like, you have this strange ability where like you can see somebody one time or you haven't seen them in 10 years and you can like, I guess I can like remember and just recall all the memories and details about them.
Yeah.
And like, I think it's because I do care.
Oh, yeah.
And like,
That's
if we were not to see each other for 20 years, I could be like,
You're like, that's
how's
the girl.
Melissa? And
Yeah.
like, how are the kids? Like, I could like, do you still live at the house at the pool in Columbia Station? Like, I could like
Remember that.
recall all
Yeah.
the details. And he's like, and Matt said like, which I find crazy that most people can't do that. And I'm like, how can most people not do that? Like,
And that's a
I can
huge
do that.
talent.
you can
I
definitely
can do that.
Yeah.
And I've always been like Rachel, you're creepy. Like that's how like because I recall
Yeah.
everything that they said to me. I know their name. I know where I met them.
You know their story.
I know their whole story. But I feel like that helps us in this
Yes.
because
Definitely does.
again we
Yeah.
can even if I haven't seen them in a year. Like I did your loan. Like
Yeah.
10 years ago, you were my first customer, and we, it was a huge mess,
Yeah.
but we got through it, and you got your house, and
And look at the house now.
and
yeah.
so it's it helps us in this industry for sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because
It definitely
not
does.
only do we care about
yeah.
you, like we don't forget you.
We don't forget
Yeah.
you.
But it makes
Yeah.
people like you more. Like, because you remember them. Like, if you know their
Hopefully.
name. No, it really does. Like, I
Hopefully.
got the...
I think it creeps them out a little bit. But
No, I was super lucky
You
to get
never
to be able
know.
to play for Coach Dressel in college.
Yes.
And that's the one thing that he was absolutely amazing at.
Really?
Is remembering everybody's name. It'd be wild. Like, I wasn't at best below average football player in college. Like, I wasn't really good. I was average.
I've heard that you're much better
I was,
than
and then
average.
I have buddies that were really good. But you think about all the players that guy's coached, right?
Yeah.
And I'm a forgettable player for him. And I walked up to him, just out of the blue, said, "Hey, what's up?" at a BW event. He's like, "Panda Goots," and I'm like, "My God, man!" And you're older,
Yeah.
like your memory is on point.
that's awesome.
On point.
He's such a great guy. My dad's
Oh,
really
yeah.
close friends with him. They went to like high school and college together, and like he will donate, volunteer whenever you need that man.
Oh yeah,
He does what he can, and it's
that's really what he's based.
remarkable.
That's his thing. Is it's caring. Like
Yeah.
we just talked about. Like
Yeah.
I would say that was the one thing he was great at because people are like, "Oh, why was he such a good coach?" I was like, "Because that dude cared. He knew everything about you. He
Yeah.
cared about you." Like I had some buddies that I ran with for like a weekend that were OSU players. I won't bring the names up because it was a wild, crazy thing. But
More stories.
that was one of the things that they said. They were like, "Man, Cooper, if you weren't the superstar, you barely know your name. You're this guy or that guy."
Yeah.
And now this dude walks in, he knows everybody. He knows everybody's name, everything about everybody, and he remembers it.
Yeah.
Like he remembered stories because I was at the BW game and he was on the sideline. He remembered stories. And they're like, "How do you know that?" And I stopped him. I was like, "It's because he cares." And he was like, "Yeah, that's right." And
Yeah,
it's true.
It is true.
It's really what it is.
It is like I had a closing like right before I got sick last month, and like the mom and her daughter like did the walkthrough. It was for the daughter, that it was her house, and they were referred to me from one of the agents in Toledo that I used to work with. And we did the final walkthrough, and we were kind of standing there, and she's like, "Can I just hug you?" And I was like, "Yes, you can hug me. Like, I'm such a big hugger. Like, bring it in, bring it in." And
Aw.
like, I don't know, it's those little moments that like they just drive me. And it's funny because it's like you were talking about money, like, "Oh, how much did we make this year? Where we at?" And like, it's not even anymore for me like game. It's like a numbers game in a way where like how many can I sell? But for me it's like also like I don't know, like finding somebody like the right house and like making sure it's not a game, it's like I don't know, like
it's your mission.
it's like my mission.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I told Bill, our inspector, I was like, when we had our first meeting, I go, "I just want you to know that like I've had other inspection companies that they want my business and they have not called things out on an inspection report because they want me to be happy." And I'm like, I need you to know, like right off the
Yeah, that's
bat,
not you.
it is not about me being happy. These people are my clients. They are going to be my clients through thick or thin. You need to tell me what's going on with that house. Because
Yeah, 'cause if
the
you
worst
don't-
thing that
yeah.
happens is then they move in. And I
You
literally
got it.
had this happen.
You got it.
I had somebody in Avon Lake. She moved into a home and the cable company came out and it was on a crawl space. And the guy, and it was about this time of year, it was colder out, and the cable company was like, hey, just so you know, there's no insulation under your home, and there's all those pipes under there.
Oh no!
But there's a space heater down there. And the client calls me like horrified, terrified. We go back to the inspection report, and he labeled that space heater as debris under the home. And I'm like, this is an epic mistake. Like, I need to know this because I would have gotten her out of the house.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if it doesn't close. She'll close eventually.
Yeah, you're going to get a house eventually.
Right.
That's the one thing that I say.
Like-
I've never seen. I see it I would say never, but I very rarely see that. Like, that's how your attitude is. It's like that
What?
listen, we're going to make sure we
Yeah.
don't stuff them in something
Right.
just to get them in a house. We had that one where you're
Right.
like, listen, let's just slow this down. They're going to find a home.
Yeah.
They're going to find the right home.
Well, for that reason that I just said, but also these people now become like my friends and my family. Like, they all get my Christmas
I was
cards
just about
for
to
the
say
most
these
part.
people are around.
Yeah,
Like, how
and-
would you feel if that happened to you?
Yeah.
Where like they
Yeah.
just you were just a closing, like it didn't matter.
Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I'd be upset. Like,
Oh my God.
It's not like furniture.
and that's
you
like a
know?
huge deal too. Like fire hazard, safety hazard,
Yeah.
pipes bursts, fires.
But also, like, also to that inspector from back in the day, like, I've got to sell this house, like, again in the future. Like, at some point in time, this person's
Yeah.
going to want to move again. And
Yeah.
whether they're downsizing or whatever is going to upsizing, whatever is going to happen,
Yeah.
I have to sell that house. Like,
Yeah.
don't.
and now you know about it.
And now I know about
Yeah.
it. Like, I can't, like, oh gosh.
I
So
know.
it's like,
I get
I'm a
you.
huge proponent of like just being honest with people because I think that that's all our buyers and sellers are asking
That's it.
for is like they just want us to like tell them the truth and like no matter how much they claim they know about the process, they just want us to hold their hand.
Mhm.
Like,
Just tell them the truth.
yeah, like.
Right.
We had a lady that we closed a few years ago. Her name was Karen, and I
Oh,
like
love her.
Karen. And I think we're gonna be working with her again soon.
Good.
And like she was going through a really rough time. Like she was going through a divorce. And when she called me again over the past couple months, she's like, and we're gonna work with Rachel because we just had this like girl power team and like
That's
and
awesome.
she's like, and then she got serious and she's like, I felt so protected through that process with you and Rachel. And I was like, yeah, you did. Like we weren't gonna let anything
Oh
happen
no,
to
she
her.
was going through a really hard time.
Yeah.
Like, my heart like felt for her.
I think I cried with her multiple times. I'm like
yeah.
waterworks over here.
Yeah, I'm like the tap is dry. Like it doesn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh no.
You're like Cameron Diaz in The Holiday. Like you just can't.
I just don't.
Really?
I
yeah.
feel you on that one.
But
Tough.
I mean I'm
I'm tough.
I sympathize with people.
No, I know you're tough. I'm not tough like tough. Like, I mean, like it's tough. I'm tough to deal with in that sense.
No,
That
yeah,
word. Yeah, not that I'm tough.
I mean, I cried at General Hospital.
crying, you're still tough if you
I
cry. I
did.
just meant like,
Yeah.
I'm tough to deal with.
I did almost
don't
cry when I
very
saw
often.
Wicked the other day though because
Oh,
that
you
was just
do love that movie.
so much. It was so good. But
I still cry during Twilight sometimes, so it's okay.
I didn't cry during Twilight, but yeah, no. With her, it was just like she was so stressed out.
Mm-hmm.
You could just tell she was so nervous. She really just needed someone to hold her hand,
Yeah,
and like that's what we do.
and that's what we did.
I've got a couple buyers like that right now where I'm like, I'm gonna strangle somebody, but they need it. They need that helping hand.
Yeah.
They do.
Like it's frustrating because we do this every day.
Mhm.
And something that's so common sense to us may not be like that for somebody else.
Right,
And then also when you throw it in, it's the place that they're going to live. It's they're moving. Their life is changing.
right. They know where their TV's going, where their Christmas tree's going
Right.
to go. Like this is more than just like a transaction.
They need somebody to hold their hand.
Yeah.
And I feel like you do that really well. They're going to come back to you because you take that extra step.
Yeah.
And
But you know what we all do really well? We can all like pat ourselves on the back for this one.
you know I like doing
Is
that.
like I think that one of the efficient ways to get through a sale process and help somebody through the buying process and selling process is communicating with your partners.
Yep.
And there are so many whenever there's going to be a problem, almost every deal has some sort of an issue. Something comes up. Somebody loses a job and gets another one and doesn't tell you guys. Or quit the job and they're like, oh, but I'm making so much more money at my new job. And you guys are like, we still need to know about that. So there's
I don't know how many times I've said
I know. That happens to be less
took
much.
2 weeks off or
Yeah.
stopped working full time. And now
I
it's like,
didn't
well, I
think it
can't just go
mattered.
part time now?
No,
I didn't think it
Fine.
mattered that I lost my job.
Yeah. But
That's
like,
right, though.
if you are working with someone who doesn't like to communicate or is afraid to pick up the phone and just be like, I gotta know, like, we've had some rougher ones where I'm like, Matt, like, you just gotta tell me what to say. Do you want to handle it or do you want me to handle it? Like, if you can't like talk to, whether it's a partner that you work with regularly or somebody that you hardly know, you're just doing the transaction with, if you can't pick up the phone and problem solve your way through it
Yep.
on behalf of that person,
Yep.
you're like, the clients can feel it.
Oh yeah.
I've tried to help other loan officers with other companies, and they
You
don't
have.
return my phone calls. In that
There was
situation,
a deal recently,
there
yeah.
was that one we had, but there's
Oh,
multiple
yeah,
times.
that
I'm
was-
like, hey, look, I'm not calling to steal your deal. I want to help you close this. Can
'Cause
you
I
just
got a
call
deal
me
right
back?
now
I
for
can
this.
help you. Like,
Yeah.
I got years of like. I don't have many talents, but that's like one of them.
Like, this is something I could do. Yeah.
This is actually something I'm really good at. I can help you
like,
close
let's
this
just, like,
deal.
problem solve our way
Just
through
give me
this.
a little bit of, give me a call back, and they just
Yeah.
won't.
And I think it's
Yeah.
like it's like a proud kind of thing. Like they're too
Yeah.
proud to,
Yeah.
or their
Ego.
their ego is like they don't want to look like they're the bad guy. They don't want to
Yeah.
look like they don't know what they're talking about. And I'm not gonna ever say like I'm the smartest person in the room or in the transaction.
You never wanna be.
You never want to be.
No.
I will say that I will work as hard as I can
Yeah.
to get it to go through. And if I don't know the answer, if I can't figure out the answer, I've got like 50 people that I can talk to
Yeah.
that I know because I've worked really hard to build my sphere of
Relationships,
people
Yeah.
who know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And
Or even just like, I've got this situation. How would you handle this?
right,
Like,
It's
you
not-
might know the answer, but like, I think it's a little bit of like humility to be able to be like, hey, like, we're not even working on this deal together right now, but I need your help. Like, I need you to tell me, like, how would you do this?
Yeah.
100%.
And like what was I gonna say?
Sorry,
I make
totally interrupted.
no, it's
You're
okay.
good.
I make a point of like when I'm working on a contract to reach out to both parties. So
Yeah,
like
you should.
I work with your like as a buyer agent,
Yeah.
I work with you, but I also am going to reach out to the seller's agent and just say like, hey, we're on the same team.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that everybody knows what they're doing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I want to make sure that you guys are aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
Like it's not. I'm not just on your side. I'm here to help everybody,
Yeah.
Right.
and I think that makes it go a lot smoother.
Yeah.
100%.
I agree with
Communication's
that.
key.
Yeah.
Another thing I was going to say, because I wanted to talk about more of the tech and industry tools that are coming out nowadays.
Mm.
But if we don't have someone, so you can always use ChatGPT. Because
I
I use
love
ChatGPT.
GPT.
I use
Crazy.
AI all day long for a person to lean on. If
Oh,
I-
yeah.
Did you like my
First.
BNI commercial the
Oh, it
other
was
day?
awesome.
Do you like, I
use it
wouldn't tell
so
you what I
much.
use it for. So I listed my cousin Nick's house this past year.
Yeah.
And it was in January. It was like the one snowfall we had. And like my cousin Nick is very meticulous about his home and about like he has more air purifiers in that home because they have they have 3 dogs, but like that you cannot smell it. Like this kid is meticulous and techie.
Yeah.
And so, like, funny, like, we're there for pictures, and he left the what is it, the potato bags or whatever over the arborvitae.
Yeah.
And he calls me, he's like, hey, can you remove those because it looks like Children of the Corn on the side of my house? And I'm like, okay, Nick. But, like, when I listed his house, it was the dead of winter. It was January with, like, our only big snowstorm last year. And he's like, I put so much money into my yard. Like, we have to talk about my yard in that description. Like, I'm going to give you pictures of my yard. Like, you have to talk about the yard. So I, like, did the description of the house, which he remodeled the whole house, but he was very, like, we have
Yard.
to.
Yep.
So I ChatGPT'd the listing
Oh, yeah.
description, which is like,
Wouldn't you?
so I was embarrassed to admit it, but I'm like, Nick, I'm just going to throw this in ChatGPT and let's see what it comes up with. And it sounded like amazing.
It's amazing.
So I'm like, Nick, I'm just going to
Especially
like
with stuff
make
like
some
that.
edits and we're going to use this. And he's like, okay, cool. So I list the house and he calls and he's like, the flora, Christine, for like the
Flora.
the flora. And I'm like, for the outdoor like flowers and everything. And I'm like, yeah, what do you think? He's like, it's actually pretty good. I'm like, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Crazy.
ChatGPT
It's amazing.
my listing description on that one.
I told you I don't have many talents, and one of the things I'm really not good at is typing emails. I used to have to send them to Todd and be like, "Can you read this and tell me if this is all right?"
I have my husband do that.
Emails. And so I literally copy, pasted, put it in the ChatGPT. It already knows why I put it in there when I start with it, and it changes the whole email, and I look like a genius.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Man.
I'm not really good at typing.
So my husband is my Todd because I'll be like, can you like come up and proofread this? He's like, do you not know what a comma is? Like, do you
terrible.
not know where to put a
Oh
comma?
no!
And I'm
Exclamation
like-
point! Exclamation point! Exclamation point! Is
So
like
I
what
stopped
do.
using exclamation points.
I am.
Do you
still
want to know
struggling
why?
with it. Why?
Attorneys don't do it.
No, that's true.
And if you want to make your point come across stronger in an email, you don't put an exclamation point. You put that period in there. And you,
Like period.
yeah, no exclamation. It makes you look too feminine.
What
And
about?
so you're stronger when you use the period.
I'm gonna stop using exclamation points, but I do it all the time in internal
took
because
a
I'm
whole class on it.
I'm manimal. Like I look like I'm here to collect money.
Yeah.
From,
You
Yeah,
do.
you kind of have to lighten yours up a
I
little bit.
Yeah.
I
You
have
do.
There was one time when the bank came into town. We had to buy fake glasses so I look softer. So I wore
Who are
fake.
you,
Like,
Clark Kent?
I was so weird. I literally wore fake glasses to look softer because I'm a huge
Did
animal.
Melanie buy those for you? I can
No,
picture her getting into
I
that.
bought them on Amazon. I bought fake like
Called Dr.
glasses.
Scott, like,
Glasses.
hey.
Hey, I just need a pair of fake
Yeah.
glasses.
I'm like
I tried to go to a eye place and buy fake glasses. They said no, you still need a prescription
for fake glasses.
for zero glasses. I tried to walk in
Really?
and they said you still need a prescription for us to give you glasses. So I just went on Amazon and bought them off.
Well, now you know Dr. Scott. You won't have to worry about that.
That's right.
I struggle with sounding too. My attitude comes out a little bit every once in a while if I'm like real
Oh.
heated.
Too short. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I try to like lighten it up with the little exclamation point, and then I'm like, no, I shouldn't do that. Looks stupid.
I took a whole class on it. Well, like somebody presented on it in one of my networking groups, and I try so hard to not put that in there. Like, it's a power move.
I'm gonna have to take a note from you, I guess, because I mean I can see
What about
why.
smiley faces after?
Sometimes you do those.
I do it all the
But
time.
you
do, yeah.
Because I'm such a manimal.
Yeah.
I gotta soften myself.
Yeah,
I'm like
you do have
too
to
big.
soften it a little bit.
People that get scared sometimes.
Like even
Like if I go real short, people I can only. The one guy was like reading my emails and he's like, "Hey man, I just was following up for that." I said, "Hey, like you're good. Just don't reread that, but don't read it in a mean voice. Read it in a happy voice, and you'll see that that's not what I meant." He's like, "Oh wow, thank you for saying that to me." I was like, so then I know, and then from there on out, I was like, smiley face, exclamation point, because I'm like, people got to read that with my big head, like, rawr, rawr. You know what I mean?
they're like crying under their desk.
And I was
But like you're just a teddy bear. Like,
I'm nice. I used to not be super nice, but now I am. Oh God. That's
Oh,
funny.
really? You weren't nice before?
Nah,
Yeah, I can't see that.
I used to be angry and young and probably some insecurities and just angry. Yeah, it happens.
happens.
Yeah,
I think that's just part of getting older and maturing. You kind
100%.
of have to like put on a front a little bit that you're like this big bad loan officer, big bad realtor, and
Oh, yeah.
As
As
you
when
get
you're younger, you just
yeah.
become you're angry or you're meaner.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
more of a self-esteem thing than anything.
I feel like if anything, I get more mad at like other realtors than I do like anybody else. Like I don't like I can handle everybody else, but it's the other realtors that like they want the call back and they are the
Yeah.
ones that like give you the attitude. I remember this one time I was like super pregnant with my second and like this lady calls and she's like trying to buy my listing contingent and my sellers were like not having a contingency and I knew her buyers from high school so it was like kind of awkward and she's like, well, just so you know, everybody in my office is talking about you and how overpriced your listings are. And like I stood up in my office and like there were people like watching because I was like slowly like you're messing with this pregnant lady's hormones and I'm like, good. I'm glad everybody's talking about me. And I like finished it off with something really mean, but I can't remember what it was, which
As she
is not
gives
my
birth on the
personality.
floor, yeah.
Yeah. But I was like, good. I'm glad everybody is talking about me. Fine. Like, I just don't get mad though.
I don't need that.
no,
anymore.
I
I get
used to.
even.
Ooh, that was spicy.
I
But
do.
I think it really becomes a value. If you can't provide value, you provide the whole like I'm gonna scream at everybody,
Yeah.
push everybody
Yeah.
the whole process because that's my value.
Yeah.
Yep.
When your value should be, I should help you buy a house and make this a really great process for you.
And be like really excited for you.
Yeah,
And
like
communication,
Yeah.
like you said
communication.
earlier.
I do notice that the agents that are like more of the like bulldog, like mean,
Mhm.
like overly like pressure, like that kind of thing. It's usually the ones where like it's kind of a dicey situation to begin with, or stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
That's what I thought my value was with underwriters when I was younger.
Mhm.
Like I'll go tell that underwriter what to do
Yeah.
because I knew the
Oh, those are
answer,
the people like
but I didn't do it
step
in a
up
play
to.
way, so it didn't turn out as easy of a process. It wasn't like a now when I send my little smiley face and exclamation
they're like,
point, they're like,
man,
"Oh, sure, I'll look at that
whatever
again."
you say.
Even the guys are like, "All right, cool, man," you know, because there are guy underwriters, even though people don't.
So
understand
that's your
that.
secret is the smiley face. huh?
It has worked for me.
See, I don't think that would work
Recently.
for me. My
No,
mine would
I would-
come off as super
Passive
sarcastic.
aggressive. Yeah.
Passive aggressive.
Yeah. Well, from a chick.
From
Yeah,
from a girl
Like
to
smiley
girl.
face, like
That's the only reason I
Like,
have.
can you check on that?
I get that
Go ahead.
sometimes.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I would get that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like I already look like I'm gonna probably punch you or something. So
Yeah.
I'm already like, all right, hopefully he doesn't yell.
Steal your money in the alley kind of thing.
I always tell people the very first client's house I went to, they definitely didn't do the loan with me because I
Oh,
look like
really?
I pulled up, you know, and I'm walked in and they were probably like, "What the?
they're like, this guy's gonna rob me.
Is this guy here to do the loan?" And I wasn't dressed. I was dressed good. We're just big guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Is he from the mob?
Wait, am I getting a loan with the mob?
mob?
Am I getting a loan with the mob? No, man, I'm just a normal
He
guy.
sells cement. Do not buy a driveway from this guy. Do you almost spit your coffee out?
She did spit her coffee out. It did almost. It came out her nose. That's awesome.
Well, we
That's
all
so
know what
true.
cement people do.
Yeah, they do. They definitely do.
He has a car wash. Mm.
Yeah.
If I have a car wash, you guys are in trouble. If I
Yeah.
have garbage,
Yeah.
forget it. Forget it.
That's hysterical.
Oh my
All right, so
God.
back to the normal world. Do you see any of this the new tech taking any I guess not business, but any innovation changing the industry at all?
Yeah, I think we're gonna see. I think you guys are gonna see a lot of change.
Mhm.
I think things with like underwriting will probably be better.
Yep.
Or smoother maybe. With like desktop underwriters and stuff like that.
Yep.
I think that as technology changes, I think we're all going to be able to do more business.
Yep.
And you can already see it with things that we've adapted to, like a dot loop, or which isn't really AI, but like a dot loop, or like back in the day, you used to only do real estate in the city you lived in.
Yep.
And now, like, I did a deal in Mogador this
Yeah,
year. I didn't even know Mogador existed. And
Sounds
I
like a
closed the
fake
deal.
place, but
Especially with like the 3D walkthrough stuff that's going to be
Yeah.
really coming out and being pretty heavy.
And that came out during COVID. And I think that there are some properties that I'm not going to use that on. Because I want to get the physical showing. I want people in the door.
Yeah.
But there's other properties that I think would have been a really tough sell if you don't have that. So there's things that with my photographer, Seatown Media with Derek Lindsay, I will drop that. He's
Awesome.
phenomenal. Like if you want to talk to somebody about like the work that they do here locally, he's fantastic. I think we're good. We're going to start seeing it with those virtual walkthroughs, which he offers, because I had a property listed this past year, and it was completely custom built. And custom built properties are great. People love them. But sometimes that also means that property was built specifically for one person.
Mhm.
And my job is to get a home into as many hands as possible and have as much traffic come through that house as possible. And if I can't do that, I'm not doing my job.
Yep.
So taking advantage of things like the virtual walkthroughs and the 3D tours and things like that. And as that technology continues to grow, I think that you'll use it more.
Yeah.
I already use it with like virtual staging, and sometimes it looks real fake. But if you have the right
sometimes
connections,
it's good, sometimes it's really bad.
yeah.
I've seen some not so hot.
Derek at Seatown Media, he also does every single listing I have has like a blueprint that I do with it. So he'll walk through, and this way people know the room measurements and they can actually like see the layout of the house. And I think that that's like huge too.
Yeah.
So I heard you say that you wouldn't use it with every
No.
single one. What would be the benefit of using it for some?
I think when you have a difficult floor plan, maybe you have a home with an elevator, or you have a home that has an in-law suite. And an in-law suite can mean all sorts of things. It can mean that maybe it's a potential rental piece of the property. Maybe it is just a bedroom and a bathroom, or maybe it is a bedroom and a bathroom with a kitchen or a dinette or something like that. And the best way to show that is through something virtual, I
Okay.
think. Whereas if you're just taking pictures, you can show it, but to understand how it feels, especially if you have somebody with special needs or
Or like
somebody who's
accessibility kind
handicapped.
of thing.
Yeah.
Okay,
like
good.
my uncle had Parkinson's, and if he were to live with somebody, that home would need to be, that in-law suite would have to be on the first floor, and it would have to be wheelchair like accessible. And sometimes you can't always see that in a picture.
That's
So
true.
there's a lot of things that you can't see.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
So
I'd say that there's still going to be some. I don't think that it'll take over. It'll just add more
Yeah.
accessibility for people that can't come to the home
yeah,
and give you more, I guess, widespread. More people will see the property, like people out of town moving in, people that
and it's
can't
huge
go
for
visit the
that.
property.
Yeah,
Because some of these properties turn pretty fast.
especially luxury.
Mhm.
You and I have worked with several athletes together
Yep.
here in Cleveland, and I think with your athletes, you need to remember that like they may be in Texas, and the wife may not be able to come because maybe he's here
Great
working with the team.
Mm-hmm.
Or professors at colleges or doctors. When you start stepping into the luxury space, having that available is huge
Yep.
because then not only can the person who's not here or the couple who's not here see that, but then also like if let's say the husband saw it, a lot of times with the with athletes, it's usually the wife that does all the work and the husband is already working.
Right.
So it's the wife that's like looking at the homes and touring it.
Yeah.
That way she can go back with him and like point things out to him that she liked or really kind of like walk him through the process. And because it's really the wife that does all of the work with an athlete.
Yep.
Those ladies are saints and they are bosses in like the ultimate like
Great.
way.
Yeah,
They're like
they
we've
have a
worked with
hard
some
life,
that
yeah.
they're tough, but they're just kick-ass people that you
Yeah, they
admire
are.
so much.
Yep.
So I think having that virtual tour so that he can understand it too takes that experience and takes you from a like real estate agent or a lender to that trusted advisor level. Be
Yep.
like, hey, I already got this for you. Let me send this over.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. Because like when we look at commercial spaces, for when we look around,
Yeah.
if they have that 3D walkthrough, it makes it a lot easier of a process to say, okay, this may be the space because you don't see the pictures, you don't see the layouts in pencil most of the time or blueprints, and you can't feel it.
Yeah.
So if we don't have the ability to go to the property, it'd be really difficult to find the space.
Yeah.
It's great for that.
And there are some people that have like weird things that like they want or don't want in a house. Like a lot of men, and you can answer this if you want, but they prefer like in the primary bedroom to have the toilet in its own room with a door that shuts.
Mm-hmm.
Got to be able to shut it. They don't want it open to the entire bathroom. And like to some men, that is like very, very, very important. There are some people, we worked with a buyer earlier this year, he did not want step downs in a house. And when you're looking at luxury homes, there's a lot of step downs from like the kitchen into the living room where the floor steps down. Privacy is a huge one, especially in this luxury space.
100%.
The house may look awesome and the pictures may make it look private, but once you have that virtual tour, you can see like, oh, I can see the neighbor's house right there. Like it's like,
And I know
hey Bob,
why.
yard looks great.
Yeah.
They'll just walk up to the door.
Oh, they
They'll
will,
just walk
for
right
sure.
up to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's not all the times where people like you want to be at home. You want to be at home.
Yeah.
You don't want like your neighbors just walking up to you like while you're just trying to relax.
Right.
Because they don't get. And some of those luxury people, they don't get a lot of free time, and when they do, they want
Yeah.
to relax.
They just want to
Yeah.
like be with their family and
Yeah.
just have their own time.
Yeah.
Because they're normal people too.
They
like
are, yeah.
Right.
they're totally normal people.
They don't have to be on all the time.
Yeah.
And the hard part about some of the people that are high profile is that they have to be on. Like, because
Yeah.
anything they say in public can be turned
Can
into
go back. Yeah.
Yeah,
One
so-
of my best friends is a real estate agent at Keller Williams, and her husband is an NFL player. And there has been a few situations where, like, he was at a game and people knocked on their door, like, intoxicated, and were like,
Yeah.
hey, like, we just wanted to say, like, your husband did a great job. And it's like, here you have her home by herself. Like, that's
Gosh,
kind of
that's-
scary.
super scary.
It's like creepy and
I'm
scary.
a grown man, and when someone knocks on our door, I'm like, something's going down.
Like,
I gotta
yeah.
see what
Who
this
just rang the
is.
doorbell?
What was that? Everybody hit the floor. Like, nobody
Not
answered
like
the
the old
door.
days when you were a kid. It was like, oh, someone's here. I got a visitor.
We
Yeah.
do that at
You know,
home
no
too.
one, everybody calls
It's
in advance. So
scary.
now when someone just randomly knocks on
Or
your
like
door,
what? Then they moved, and in their like last house here in Cleveland, like one of the neighbors gave her husband this like card that said like Foxy on it. It was like all bedazzled, and like we joked about it, but at the same time, it's like
yeah,
that's kind of creepy,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, it's crazy.
Appropriate. Yeah.
Yeah, so I totally agree. That'll be a big thing for the space. Our space has already seen some of that tech,
Yeah,
but I agree with you as well. Some people use it and some people won't. We have borrowers that'll use it and really take advantage of the tech that we have available so they don't have to give us any pay stubs or bank statements.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
It's real easy for them. And
Yeah.
some people, that's harder for them.
yes,
So
yeah.
it's like, all right, well, then you just got to figure out who's going to use it and who doesn't.
yeah,
Eventually, as people age and the computer, people become better with computers, and those people that have been around with computers the whole time, have been with computers the whole time, are utilizing this and doing those, and it'll be easier. But that's
Yeah.
I agree the same. Some people will be like, I'll just do the tour.
yeah,
Some people are like, I got to go to the house.
yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah,
yeah.
same thing. Yeah.
And also, like, I like it because it puts the control in my hands.
Yep.
So, like, if I have a property where I'm like, no, people need to come and like see this house, like, I'm not going to take advantage of that
Yeah.
stuff. But like, if I have a property that like needs to showcase it, then let's go all out and do it.
Yeah.
So,
And social media is huge now, too. I mean, it's just ginormous.
yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't even have social media, 5-6 years ago. You
Mm-mm.
know, you got to have it.
Yeah. And
I
there's
think
like,
you guys made me get a Facebook when I joined.
Oh,
the BNI.
really?
Yeah, you guys made me
I
reactivate my
was
Facebook.
gonna,
Oh.
you've
Because
had that since I've known you.
I've had my Facebook turned off, and when I joined, you guys, you're like, you got to reactivate your Facebook. So what is that? I really, literally just reactivated my Facebook. I had an Instagram for maybe
it's
about 4
beneficial
years.
though.
Yeah, but in
feel
BNI,
like
you
it's
guys
helped a lot.
you made me. It does.
Can I just say though, I think like one of like the miscommon or I don't know, not miscommon, like the misconceptions is I know Instagram is like huge,
Yeah.
but I love that they're connected to each other, Facebook and Instagram, now that it's the same company. I get so much more business from Facebook by far
By far.
than I do Instagram.
By
And I
far.
think people are like so confused by that, especially the younger generation. But like people are on both of them,
Yep.
So I use Facebook way more than I use Instagram. But
Mine are connected. So if I post on one,
I thought mine
Post
were,
them
but
together.
apparently they're not.
Yeah, you
but,
got to connect them, and then you ought to post to both. There's like a setting where you post to both.
yeah. Oh,
But-
look at you, Mister. I didn't have Facebook a year
Yeah.
ago.
but I feel like the Instagram people,
You made me turn it on.
from what I've noticed, that the people who are like real Instagram heavy and real like put new reels out, those are the more flashy people
Yeah.
that are like flaunting almost.
Yeah.
Whereas the Facebook, what I'm seeing like professionally, like Facebook wise, is more of like, let's work together, let's do business together.
Yeah.
Whereas-
collaborative.
Collaborative, that's the right word.
Yeah.
Whereas like Instagram is more like showing off kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like I don't get business from Instagram.
No.
So don't
I mean, I
use
do
it.
sometimes, but I feel like Facebook is more of a platform to like have the conversation.
Mhm.
And like Instagram is much more like stories and like pictures kind of thing.
Mhm.
I think it's good for content.
Yes.
Like if I was like with my videos that I've been doing, like my
which I love.
with my
Yeah,
Me
my
too.
they're
dubs.
amazing. by the
Yeah.
way.
Thank
I told
you.
they're
Yeah.
really good.
thank you.
I just watched one today actually.
I just posted it
and
today.
I watched it.
Yeah. But so I think those are good for content.
Mhm.
But when it comes to like, if I'm gonna go and look for something, like I need a recommendation for so and so.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah,
gonna go to
that's
Facebook. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
gonna go to Facebook because for one, it's easier to search, and then it's just I'm more familiar with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
majority of the time it's all. I mean, business is on Facebook. I would say Instagram's more for like recognition. Like
Yeah.
someone, I always tell the guys and the girls on the team that it's always great, huh?
I'm the only girl.
Oh, you're the only girl. Oh,
Loan officer.
look at you.
Right now, yes,
Mhm.
yes.
Getting diverse over here.
I think girls are way better at this than guys. By the way,
Yeah, we are.
I've always said
Girl
this.
power.
I think girls are way better. as
Oh, really?
leaders than guys, but I love everybody. But girls are just way better. They're just naturally more trustworthy. Again, because look at me. I mean, imagine if I walked in your house and Rachel walked in your house. You'd be like, I'd rather work with Rachel. I don't work with that guy. He may beat me up if we don't close.
Yeah.
Anyway, so anyway.
No, if I walked in next to Matt, they'd be like, "Who's the munchkin?"
That's true. Even though I'm the nicest guy in the world. it'd be very
You
funny.
are the nicest
Yeah.
guy in the world.
I know.
Yes.
But that being said, you guys took me off my entire
Sorry.
rant, but it's all right. The social media, again, for the girls and the guys, I say, that's where it was. It really is if you put that out there, because there's a lot of people in your friends list or your friend, your Facebook friends with, they may not even know you do mortgages.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I said this on another one of these episodes. Is like if you don't put it out there, I've had people I ran into that had no clue I was in mortgages. And
Yeah.
I've known them and hung out with them at bars, and they've been VIP. They're one of our VIPs at my company VIP. Like I had like a party and he still didn't know I was in mortgages.
Yeah.
So it's wild that people just don't recognize that. And if you don't put that out there, no one's going to know that.
What's interesting is I just had this conversation with Nicole. I remember a couple of years ago, I spent so much money on these like medical bags at Mark's in North Olmsted. I like sponsored the back of them because I was thinking, when these people get their drugs, and I was trying to tap into the senior citizens at the time, like they are going to like see my name and face regularly on there, or like, this is horrible to admit, but if they pass, their family members will see the bag sitting there and like my info's there. This is so sad and like creepy and just
It's a
like
strategy.
morbid. But it was a strategy that failed horribly. And I realized at that point that I was doing a really great job creating awareness, which is what Instagram does. Is I was creating awareness of my brand and I was spreading my brand. I'm sure that there are people out there that I knew that went to that pharmacy and got the medical bag and whatever. And they're like, oh, here's Christy on the back of it, and probably like drew a mustache on my face or something. But like the point is that like there is a huge difference between creating awareness on social media, any platform, especially Instagram, and doing the work that happens behind the scenes. So this is part of the work that happens behind the scenes, but it's also like the fun, flashy stuff. But there's other things like BNI. Rachel and I are part of this group called Working Women Connection.
Yep.
There is like holding open houses, going to open houses. Like there are holding client events and putting all of this stuff together.
Yep.
That like and
Yep.
making it happen.
That's
like
awesome.
I started the
It's
BNI
true, though.
group and I had to like. I made little baggies and like knocked on all these businesses' doors. Scott chased me out of the iPlace, like, get back here, I want in. And thank God, because he was like the biggest asset
Oh,
anybody
Oh my
has
gosh,
ever
can you
asked
imagine
for.
if
Mr.
he
B&I.
wasn't?
It would have
Oh
failed.
my
It would have
Oh, yeah,
crashed,
Mr. B&I.
burned
Oh my God.
without Scott.
He's
But
amazing.
like, I think that like, as professionals and entrepreneurs and agents and loan officers, we do such a great job of like, look how great I am and look at all these things I do and how let me share all this info with you. But like nobody sees like the grit that
Yeah.
like go or like
Takes
I
more than
post
just
my
posts.
just sold
Yeah.
all the time. Like I post almost every just sold, not all of them, but almost all of them. I do it because I want people to see that I'm relevant still.
Yeah.
I don't want them to think I like
It's awareness.
fell out. It's
100% right.
awareness. But also, like, they
That's-
don't know that I showed them 120 homes and
That
that
is
we were
not the
under
work,
contract
right.
on 2 other houses that fell through
Yep.
because there's a crumbling foundation or mold in the attic,
Yep, 100%.
So-
We just literally, I love when you say this stuff because this is another one. I just had this conversation with one of the guys. They were like, "Oh, how much business do you think I'm going to get from these videos?" And I was like, "None. You got to
Yeah.
still do the hard work.
Yeah.
The videos will just get you awareness.
Yeah.
Right. Like
There's still a lot of work
people
to
will
do behind
recognize
that.
you a little
That's
bit more.
it.
And
Yeah.
Make outbound calls to realtors to meet with them, or realtors still see you. They want to maybe talk to you, at least to think about referring you business. And then borrowers will see that.
Yeah.
So when you do work with them, they'll solidify that you're an expert in the field. That's really it.
That's all you're doing.
Right.
so like
Yeah.
with the videos that I've been doing, like I can't pinpoint any deal that I specifically
Never
got
would
from
be
a
able to,
video.
right? Yeah.
But I've had, I mean, you guys know I bartend a couple of nights a week for like, at a
Probably get
VFW.
business from that.
I do, and I've become very close with the customers there. Like they're all members, so like they're there pretty regularly. They know like Rachel does mortgages.
Yeah.
Yep.
You should see your videos, like, and they like talk to me about them every time I go in.
Yeah.
And it's just to get the buzz out there. Like
Yeah.
it's not like I'm beating, like people are beating down the door to like, I saw your
But
video.
it's
I want
also
to do
to
a
show
loan
you're an
with you."
expert. Like you're an expert.
Yeah.
You do know what you're talking
Someone
about.
said like, "Oh, you're a smart bartender," and I was like, "Thanks."
'Cause
But you are.
But I
Right.
am. Thank you.
Yeah. Like you should own it. Like hell yeah, I am. Like
Yeah.
I can multitask and be a mom on top of all of this.
Right.
100%.
But I feel like the videos are important. Like I shot the one with like Mr. Rogers and like rollerblading that like of my neighbor's house. I got so much attention from people. Like I found out like people were talking about me behind my back. Like, did you see Christine's video? Like it was a cheesy video that I actually stole from somebody, a different agent that used a scooter to go to his neighbor's house. We used the same like video. Or yeah, the same photographer. So I'm like, can we do that like with me and I'll rollerblade kind of thing? But I feel as though like it helps create a buzz.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes you that fun, relatable. It makes you relatable too. Like it allows people to like get to know you because you can post your videos all day long, but like if people don't know you, it doesn't really matter what the heck you're
100%.
putting
That's
out
what we
there.
say too, because that's great. See, everything you keep saying is like super. You keep making me.
See?
The stuff we've been saying is right.
Do you know what my
'Cause
burning
it's
desire
funny,
in
'cause
life
we didn't
is?
talk about this at all.
No, we
You
didn't talk about any of
And
it.
it's like, hey, at least make a couple of your posts family based because
Oh, yeah.
you still
Oh,
got to
yeah.
be a person.
Yeah.
So
people
when
have
you
to
say
relate
what
to
you said, it's like you got to be relatable. You got to be a person.
Yeah.
So you still got to post like it's not if your entire feed is all business.
It's boring.
It's boring.
You
It's
suck.
boring.
Exactly.
It's
It's
like
perfect. Though. I was
or
like,
if
you
you're
still gotta
like
be use it
trying
for-
to be this person and that person and like show all these things, like you got to be consistent. You got to pull it together.
100%. It's so true. It's so true.
So, since I keep saying what's on your mind, you know what my burning desire in life is to be? The next Tony Robbins.
Oh yeah.
I want
We
to
talked
like,
about this.
Yeah, I just want to be on stage. Like, give me all the microphone time. I don't know. Like,
It's perfect.
Well, I was telling you, I'm like, I think I missed my calling in broadcasting. Like, I was reading that prompter for those videos, and I was like, oh my god, yes.
Oh,
I'm
there's
so
a prompter
cool.
in front of
Yeah.
you.
Oh yeah. We use teleprompters.
Oh.
Don't tell our secrets.
I won't.
No, you're
As
good.
long
It's
as you
all right.
don't.
It's all right. It's right there.
It's
You
right
see
there.
it? You see the teleprompter right there?
Oh, that's a teleprompter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're not using it
Oh.
as a teleprompter, but we're using it for the camera. But you put a
Oh.
little.
I'm gonna have to come in here and shoot some content.
You can. You just put the iPad here and it read, and it moves while you read.
Put this in front of me, like I'm like.
I only.
Is your grass nice in your next home? I can find you some great turf.
Oh, I like that.
See,
That's awesome.
I can get creative.
But yeah, I'm like, oh, man, I miss I could just shoot videos all the time, and that's fun.
yeah,
It'd be
some
nice.
people do.
It'd be nice to get in front of a bunch of people, do some coaching stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But that's probably one of the best things you get out of it is just to watch, like you said, with the borrowers. At least for me, it's watching that person go from just starting and then seeing it just pop for them.
yeah.
They're like, and I'm like, see, it
Not
worked.
that bad.
I love it.
And you need to
Yeah.
have the people on your team that help you get there.
Yeah, because if you
You
don't,
really do.
Yeah.
It's a team effort.
it is a team
Like I look
effort.
back at like all of the people that I worked with in the past, and like I know that there have been some really great ones, some really like not so great ones, but like every single person that I've worked with has helped me in some way figure out what I need to do to make the right steps,
Mhm.
and that's how we've lasted so long in this business.
Yeah,
Yep.
experience matters.
Yeah, experience
Yeah.
matters. Like whether it's good experience or bad experience,
Mhm.
like you learn from the people around you.
Yeah,
So-
I agree.
Yeah, I agree too.
You definitely do because I'm not a loan officer, but there's a lot I know about like things that I don't think the average real estate agent knows or like inexperienced, like balancing. Like how many real estate agents do you think actually know what it means between a lender and a title company to balance?
Oh God, no.
Probably
Right?
very little.
for those of you that don't know, it's when they take their fees and they combine it all together and then make sure it comes down to the exact penny that
And what do you know? We have the same number.
And you balance.
You balance, and the wire's right, and everything's right.
And everything's good to go.
Yep, because we got to wire them the funds.
So I don't know.
Those are
I
always
think that
fun.
like with experience, you like teach each other
Yeah.
what all of these crazy terms mean, kind of thing.
It's always good to partner with people and be part of a
Absolutely.
team.
Yeah.
Like if you're part of a team that everybody has the same goal and they're all rowing in the same direction, it's unstoppable.
Yeah.
And really, that's really the best part.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've told you this. Like, I met Christine through Working Women Connections. God, I don't even know how long ago. Probably like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And she was speaking. The first time I met you was when you did your.
Well, I don't know about this.
You don't?
No.
Okay,
I
like
don't. Am I going to be embarrassed? Am I
No,
going
I
to cry?
stalked you. No, I'm going to come off as really creepy, but it's cool because
Oh,
I am.
God. You
It's
stalked
cool
me?
because I am.
That's why she joined the BNI group. No, I'm just kidding.
So,
no,
no,
I'm just joking.
I
Why
just
you hired
remember-
her? Like, I like stalkers.
So I was sitting. She's doing her presentation for Working Women's
snorted.
Connection. Yeah, you did. I'm spinning my.
Okay,
coffee
Okay, let's
out.
hear this.
All right, so she's doing her presentation for Working Women Connection.
Like just a normal one, or was I like?
It was at the luncheon. It was when
Okay.
you spoke at the luncheon.
Okay.
When we were at the Woods.
Okay.
So this was like 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And and it was you were like the featured
I
speaker.
was pregnant.
I don't know. That you
But
were.
keep going.
And so you were doing your featured presentation or the featured speaker. You were talking about how you like have grown your business all from referrals, and I'm just sitting there like taking this all in. I'm like, oh my God, this girl's a genius. I have to know her. And I'm like, I have to know her.
I have to know Krusty.
And I
get
have to know
Find
Krusty.
find out where she lives.
I was like, so I like
Where does she
immediately,
frequent?
I immediately like after like the luncheon was over, I went up and started talking to you, and like
I feel so bad. I don't remember this.
oh like you probably blacked it out because I was probably creepy as hell, but I like consistently like would reach out to you, and you were always like, hey, like we'll get together eventually, and I'm like, no girl, we're gonna get together, like this is gonna happen. and I just remember being like, this girl, like I was just
You
so
weren't creepy. You were persistent.
I was very
You're
persistent.
Yeah.
You could turn anything to positive. It's
Change the
Matt.
way you look at
Well,
things. The
Thanks,
things you
Matt.
look at change. Yeah.
But
You're persistent.
yeah, I
You
was
had a
very
goal
persistent,
and you were persistent.
and I'm like, hey, you have such great ideas. And then even when we weren't like working together, I would take kind of some of the ideas that I got from your presentation and like incorporate that into my offices for when I was at your home.
yeah.
And I was like, God, this girl's like going places. And I like,
Really?
hitched my cart to your wagon, and that's all she wrote.
That's awesome. That's really
Aw,
cool.
I
Aw.
cried. That's like
don't
really
cry.
sweet.
Don't cry.
That's like really.
Rachel ain't gonna cry for nothing.
Don't
Just like,
cry.
"Yes, I ain't crying.
I ain't crying.
Don't cry. Just get a restraining
Ain't nobody
order.
got
It's
time for
fine.
Aw, so you were like my stalker for
Oh,
a
yeah,
while.
like-
now she's part of the greatest BNI group in Northeast
I
Ohio.
know the tag team.
The tag.
Shaka
team.
I
laka.
think we're number one right now in points.
Are we?
Oh my
I think we're close.
Whoop! There it is.
I really
Nice.
think so. I really think
You
so.
do?
We gotta play
I
that.
think
We gotta
so.
play that.
I
I
feel
looked
like
at
I'm
the
going to
traffic
be
light
bringing everybody
reports.
down
We're at
because I was
80.
out.
What are you talking about?
Well, I didn't like miss. I had subs.
You had
but
subs. We're good.
I'm
I
like-
just checked the points, and I think we're at 80 and 80. Everybody's at 80 right now.
Sweet.
So, and I think we get, now that we bump up with the new members, if one of them pays. So if either we have 2 renewals up, and if both of those renewals go through,
Well, one's current.
or if one of they both have to go through. And then if one of the members pays that we said yes to, we move to 5 new members and 5 in growth. So that bump us to 85. We'd be on first in Northeast
That was
Uh,
sweet. Could you imagine?
and the
two
NEO.
Yeah.
See, but that's just for November. That's not for the year.
I feel like I'm going to bring us down because I was out and like I feel
That
like my
includes the
referrals are a
subs.
little down.
That includes the subs, includes the referrals.
My
includes
one-to-ones were there because of membership.
That's as of right now.
Okay.
And also too
Doesn't include next week's.
Oh, and we can count this as a one-to-one.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, you just
Yeah,
got
we
excited
can.
about that.
And then also too, a lot of people have been sending me referrals for Google reviews
Oh.
and for sharing my videos. So
And I
like,
just was able to get your account all switched over.
Oh, did
and then
you?
added back all the stuff from October 25th to your new account. So now all your old records pulled through, and I added from
I
25th.
did see
so
that.
those numbers jump up pretty good.
Oh, sweet.
Because I get alerted on when people
Yeah.
join.
I still am not getting any of the.
I emailed them. I'll email them
I do have a visitor coming, so that'll boost me a little
boost.
bit.
That's
I should
awesome.
have 2 to 3 coming, but 1
Ooh,
definitely.
nice.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's awesome. So, as we round out the
Yeah, I'm like,
pod,
how did we do? I'm like, did we beat
I mean, we've
everybody
been on
else? Oh,
an
yeah.
hour and
we're doing
45
good.
minutes. We're doing
Mhm.
really good. It's good talking to you guys. But if you had to give someone one piece of advice, and I'll ask both of you this, getting into your industries, what would you do?
Mine would be, it's not an easy thing to do, but if you have the motivation and the drive to do it,
Mm-hmm.
and you are with the right people, you're going to succeed. But you have to do it the right way, and you have to do it ethically. And if it were the tables were turned and you were sitting in the buyer's seat or the client's seat, how would you want to be treated?
Yep.
That's how you have to approach this business.
Mhm.
And it's the people that do that; those are the ones that succeed.
That's awesome. That's really good advice.
Mine would be consistency, I think, is the thing that I see the most successful people in this business do is they're consistent. They're consistent with their lead generation. They're consistent with every aspect of what they do.
Yep.
But also, I would, anybody who's trying to get into real estate to be a realtor, I would say that this job, you can't create your own schedule. You're working when other people are available, and you need to be prepared for that. And that it's not a part-time job. There's so much to learn. There's so much to know
Yep.
that like you really have to be willing and ready to like dedicate yourself to it.
Yep.
And I think that a lot of agents make it look like we're just out there, you know, on yachts and going on vacation, doing all
Yeah.
these great things, and we are. But my first year, I made $13,000,
Yep.
and you don't get to that point overnight, and you have to remain consistent. You have to come from a good place on all of this, and if you're not able to like, nobody's going to start their first year and do $20 million. And nobody's going to do it. Like, if you, what it looks like to do $25 million is not what you think it is.
No.
And, like, you have to be ready to, like, grow some thick skin because this is a really tough business. It's tough from, I think, real estate agents, although I am one, are some of the nastiest people I've ever met in my entire life.
Same thing in our industry.
And, like, and you have to have thick skin. But also, like, if you don't like delivering bad news, like, I know we're sitting here and we're all happy, and I'm like, oh, I love watching people fall in love with, like, the house. But, like, one of the hardest things is, like, telling somebody, like, hey, like, it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and we can't do this. Like,
Mhm.
it's done. And so be consistent. If you get into this business, you're in it for the long haul. It's not going to happen overnight.
Oh, yeah.
But also, like, get ready to, like, have some conversations that are going to rock your world because there's going to be some hard conversations that you're going to need to have that you never thought you'd end up having with somebody. So
yeah.
grow some thick skin.
100%.
Don't end up becoming a drunk either because a lot of people do.
A lot of people do. Our industry's the same way like that, though.
Yeah.
It's like cutthroat.
It's very
So
cutthroat.
cutthroat.
It's so wild. People
Yeah.
hate each other because they work for different companies. Or they
Mhm.
won't be friends because they're different companies. Or
Yeah. And you're
It's
going to have to
wild.
work with everybody. Like, I don't know.
There's plenty of business to go around. Why not learn from everybody?
Right.
Why not work together?
Right.
And yeah, that's definitely something like starting, I guess, starting relatively young in the industry. I mean, I was 25, so I'm not like super, super young, but, or
Yeah.
I'm old now, but whatever.
Yeah, me too.
But,
Super old.
but like starting
I got
young.
my Botox today. So.
Yay.
I'm 50 almost, so I got you.
Really?
I'm
Yeah.
48. I'm 48 and a half.
Oh.
1.5 years, I'll be 50.
Like 5-0.
Oh, Jesus.
Old man.
Old
No,
as
just
heck,
kidding.
man. You have no clue. It seems like yesterday I was going wild.
But anyway, but starting young in the industry and being a girl and like learning from like working with others, I definitely had to put my big girl pants on and not let it get to me so much when someone was like heated or
Yep.
having those tough conversations, because it's very intimidating, and it can be, but you can't avoid it. You have to take it head on.
Yeah.
You have to. You have to hit everything you do. You have to hit head on.
Have you ever heard the term "swallow your frogs"?
Yeah,
That's what you have to do.
Yeah.
it's part of our
Yeah.
thing. You got to swallow the frog. You always got to swallow. the frog.
I remember multiple
Yes,
times,
it.
like when I was
Yeah, there
first
is,
getting
yeah.
started, where like an agent would call my phone, and I'd be like, the anxiety would set in. Like, I just like, no, this person's gonna be so mean to me,
Yeah.
and like I would kind of just like work myself up and be like, okay, I can't talk to this person right now, and
Yep.
like ignore it.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do that anymore. Like, I had to like really tell myself, Rachel, grow up. Like,
yeah.
like, they're not mad at you per
They're mad at
se.
the
They're mad at the
situation.
situation.
Yep.
It's going to be worse if you avoid it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I've approached everything
Yeah.
since, is like, if you can get out in front of it, like, things go wrong. Whether it's my fault,
They're
somebody
always
else's,
going to go wrong.
whether it's my fault, whether it's somebody
It
else's
could be
fault,
nobody's
the world's fault. Like, who knows?
Yeah.
Like, it could be anybody.
Yeah.
Getting out in front of it,
Well, the pandemic was my fault. By the way.
well, absolutely.
It was.
I was like, man, we need a pandemic to strengthen America.
Yeah.
Like Thanos. It happened,
It's like that.
and I was like, "Oh, Matt, don't ever say something like that again," because it didn't make.
It was
didn't-
your
It
fault.
wasn't great.
Can I just say though that like in this business, every once in a while, I'm like, man, I could use a good shutdown. You know, like I could use like just to be stuck in my house for a couple weeks
Oh
and like
God.
I have never been more busy than I was during the shutdown.
same
I had a kid on each knee. My
That was
phone
crazy.
rang nonstop.
nonstop. I
Couldn't get
remember I
anything
was
to
showing
closing.
so many homes in the beginning of it that like and then like you'd come home and like at the very beginning and like you had gloves on and I kept Lysol and Clorox wipes in my car and like my hands turned white.
Yeah, you were like raw.
Yeah.
I didn't leave my house for 3 months because I was like, that's when I was really sick. But
We were in Florida when we were driving down to Florida as everything was shutting down.
yeah,
And like I remember we were trying to stop to like eat and like there were restaurants shutting their doors in our face like sorry we're closed. We get to Florida and
Wide
like
open.
yeah and like my husband goes to get takeout from like our favorite restaurant and he's like oh I'm shocked you guys are open and he's like until they come and turn off my lights and lock my doors I will be open and we're like all right
That's
and
how it
like
was, too.
we didn't like listen to the news or anything till the end of the trip. So we were just like living on vacation for like 2 weeks in Florida. And then like we start like watching the news like at the end of the trip and we're like, oh wait, like what?
Like,
Like this
yeah.
is like really happening. Like there was a death toll counter on the
Dude, it was
TV
wild.
and we're like,
Everybody forgot about it already, too.
yeah.
We were just talking about this on the other pod I was with Scott. I was like, people forgot so fast.
Yeah.
You remember how wild it was? I remember, like, because I was the only one that, don't tell anybody. I went to work still because I can't work from home, so the whole office was shut down. But I went in all by
I was
myself.
essential.
I went in all by myself for the first, like, 2 weeks when it was, like, wild.
Yeah.
It was
When I was
ghost
in
town
Florida living
everywhere.
my life.
Yeah, probably when you were in Florida and they were, like, whole different.
I was more worried about sharks in the ocean
Yeah.
than anything else.
My brother told me he went golfing down there and he was wearing a mask like you're supposed to. And the guy goes, "This is Florida. You take that mask off."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, "You bring that mask in here. You can't golf."
But because we drove, I still have Publix like
Yeah.
sanitary spray in my house.
Well, yeah.
Like, yeah.
But yeah, so that was the only one that I literally went into the office still during that. But it was like ghost town. I mean,
But you got so
ghost
much
town.
done.
Oh yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm talking about like the streets. It was wild.
So on our way back, it was like ghost town. Like as we were driving back, my husband's going like 90 to 100 on the freeway.
No one.
I'm
there.
like, Matt, like slow down. Like, what are you gonna do if we get pulled over? He's like, I'm gonna cough.
I could see him saying
That's
that.
a good
too.
Dude, it
idea.
was
Like,
wild. It
Okay,
was
you can go
wild.
100.
I ordered takeout like every single day.
Yeah.
I grew an addiction to Screwball peanut butter whiskey.
Oh,
Ugh.
Oh god.
I would put it
gross.
over ice
Ugh.
and just sip on it, or like amarettos. I would, or do Serona.
Dude, I'm sure there was a lot of alcoholics made.
Oh,
during the pandemic.
I had
Oh, we
many
drank every
bottles
day.
of wine.
Yeah, it's wild. How
In
much
fact, our like
alcohol got
group
consumed.
of friends from like Olmsted, or like our like close friends, we all went to the same daycare, and at one point we're like still like really close. Like we go on vacation with them.
Yep.
At one point, we're all like, well, all of our kids have the same germs in daycare. Like after things started opening, like we might as well just start partying together.
Yeah, might as well hang out.
Yeah, like I mean, if they're gonna get sick, we're all gonna get sick, so we might as well just start partying. And it was like the best thing that ever happened. Like we were like the only people that had friends during that period. I feel
Like I was the one that had to stay home because I was immunocompromised. I was the
Oh,
one.
Yeah, that's
right.
right.
Yeah.
You are, yeah.
Yeah, so I had to like stay home. All I did, like Nick did all the shopping. I was with the kids all the time.
That's kind of nice.
But I did, oh my God, I closed so many loans.
You
Yeah.
probably did.
Whew, I killed it.
You couldn't go nowhere.
I couldn't go nowhere. I had nothing else to do, and I did a
Phone
lot of,
rang all day long.
I did a lot of puzzles after.
Oh,
I would stay up late and do puzzles. God, I was so cool back then.
But that's true how crazy people just forget about it. Like it
Yeah.
didn't even happen.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like nothing.
Yeah.
It's like everything was shut down. It was wild.
That's when I started doing the best business of my life.
Mm-hmm.
That's
COVID.
awesome. Yeah. You're doing huge numbers now.
Rocked
That's
it out.
awesome.
So, all right.
all
Well,
right,
let's
so-
do this again.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming by.
We should do like a monthly series.
Yeah,
or
welcome to our new podcast, part
Yeah.
2, TBD.
Listen, anytime you guys want to film me, let me know. We can do a podcast anytime you guys want.
something.
I'm
All right.
in.
I'm bout it, and route
in.
it, route it. So
I like it.
let's do
Well, I
it.
appreciate you guys coming out.
Thank you for having
Thank
us. I
you.
feel like next time I'm going to ask you all the questions.
You're more than welcome. I don't know if you want the answers.
No, I don't know if you want to publicly say them.
Yeah, I know. I
don't.
kind
I
of
mean,
do.
most people
Yeah.
know them, but I mean, I don't want to really say them out loud. You know what
Did
I
you
mean?
cut us? Are we still going?
No, we're still going. You're
Oh.
good. We're good.
He's standing there now, so I didn't
You're
know.
good. We're good.
I mean,
All right.
yeah, I don't know if you publicly want to
No.
like say.
I
I could
probably
put
won't.
like really detailed questions on there.
No.
But I already know the answers too.
Yeah, for sure you do.
You were talking about your Vegas trip. I almost asked about the taxi driver.
Oh, did you know about the taxi driver? in
Yeah,
my
you told
Vegas
me,
trip?
yeah.
That was epic.
Epic.
That'll be on our podcast, part
Yeah.
2.
All right. Awesome.
Too.
Well, thank you very much.
All right,
I
thank
appreciate
you
you guys.